Good morning, people. Hello, hello. Hello. Why was Loner up so late? Well, you see, Avi, he was debating Drew Pavlou about immigration in the UK specifically, in which Drew Pavlou basically went full on mask off in that debate, if he even had a mask to begin with, and essentially went on about how immigration, or rather, I'm sorry, brown people coming to Western countries is bad because it doesn't preserve the whiteness of the country. I mean, he didn't say it exactly like that, but he basically said it like that. Yeah. Drew is on his fucking alt-right arc. It's a thing. Drew thought Loner was an Israeli Jew and was accidentally racist. Yeah, he was. And then he stopped talking about Israel as soon as Loner said, "No, I'm not Jewish." I don't know if he thought that he was Israeli, but he thought he was Jewish, which was weird. It's like he accidentally did an anti-Semitism by assuming that Loner must have been Jewish because he's a Zionist. And then he stopped talking about Israel. It was very funny. Okay. So I thought today we would just go over, talk about a few things. Pretty sure Drew made direct references to Loner being Israeli too. Oh yeah, he might have. I mean, the funniest part was when he was like, you guys should thank me or whatever. That was very, very, very funny. Like when he was implying that like Loner should thank him, for being like, for like being a Zionist and being like a defender of Israel or something. It was weird. That's all I'll say there. But you know, I have to say that I was at least glad that Drew did not have a 20-hour intro where he rambled on about his about like how he came to the position that he's in. Although I do feel like he might have had Wick not been like, "Bro, no, 1 minute or less. Keep it short for your intros." Like Wick knew. But yeah, it was a good debate. It was very funny. It was cancer, you know, exactly all the things that one might be entertaining, but oh my god. Okay. So, to get started today, there has been another group chat leak, and on Friday I have a panel with Lactoid and Ash of Creation and Dr. Darko. Of all of those, I think I kind of know Ash of Creation, or like I've maybe heard of him, and obviously I know who Lactoid is because he is a Russian shill. Now, before we get into any of that, though, I'm pretty sure you guys have heard that Ukraine, the Donald Trump cycle on Ukraine has begun again. So, let me see if I can just illustrate it for you here, okay? I've never used this program before, but let's give it a try. And if not, then I'll switch to Photoshop because I'm not an MS Paint person. But this should work for me to do some sort of basic illustration if it's going to open. But oh, interesting. Okay. Damn, this is a fancy program. All right, sure. Okay. So we're just gonna kind of draw this out here. Let's see. Polygonal tool. Oh no, that's not what I want. Do I not have? Okay. So we have the Donald Trump cycle on Ukraine, basically. So it's just gonna we're just gonna like, hold on. Ow. Got an eraser tool anywhere here? Well, oh, neat. Can move it around. Okay, so what we've got essentially here is that, can I insert text with this? Oh, you can. Nice. Okay. So, you know what? Fuck it. I can't. I'm not. I can't do it. I'm not as good at doing the fucking MS Paint thing. Fuck it. Um, Essentially, the Donald Trump Ukraine thingy basically works like this. It's like it goes in a circle basically. So at the start of it, we've got Donald Trump, okay, and Donald Trump goes like, "I want to end the war in Ukraine because I hate wars and I want a Nobel Peace Prize." And then and like, because he's an idiot and he thinks Vladimir Putin is cool, within the first step he's talking about how he needs to end the war in Ukraine, and he's basically like talking about how both sides are the same. Then he goes and talks to Putin, and Putin's like, "Why, yes, Donald, I certainly would like to end the war." And Trump's like, "Great, I love this, I love you, Vladimir, thanks." And then he goes to Zelensky and he's like, "You have to end the war. Putin said that he wants to end the war, and you need to give up territory." Blah 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 blah. And of course, Zelensky like tries to placate him because he can't like say anything too bad to him, right? And then, like, so he's kind of like super diplomatic and stuff, and tries to convince him otherwise. And then Trump's like, "Yeah, okay, so we've got a good week. We think we're gonna have a summit." And then the Russians are like, yeah, we might have a summit." And then Putin bombs some cities, and Trump goes on Truth Social and cries and whines about how bad it is that Putin is still bombing cities. And then he goes and talks to Zelensky, and it seems like he might be on Ukraine's side now. And he's talking about cool stuff, and he's wondering what happened to Putin. Why is Putin doing this? And then he goes back to like thinking like maybe he's going to give Ukraine support now. And then he has a phone call with Putin, and Putin says he's ready to end the war. And Trump's like, "Oh, cool, that's great. You want to end the war?" And then Trump goes back to Zelensky, and he's like, "Hey, you guys got to end the war." And he starts spewing Russian talking points again about how Ukraine needs to give up territory. And then Trump says, "You know what? Yeah, we're going to have a summit in 2 weeks." And then Russia goes, "No, I don't think we're going to have a summit in 2 weeks." And then Putin bombs some cities. And Trump goes back to being really mad. You understand? It's just the same shit over and over again in a perfect circle, because Trump is a fucking moron who does not know anything about any of this, and all he wants is his shiny Nobel Peace Prize. It is profoundly frustrating. This is what happens when you have a president who is a child, who does not understand anything about conflict, and then who gets easily manipulated by big boy Putin. And it is the most annoying, stupid crap that you could ever possibly imagine. And like, everybody was getting their hopes up. Oh, finally, Trump's going to listen. Finally, he's going to start arming Ukraine. And the cycle has since repeated again, because Trump got on the phone with Putin. And Putin probably told him about how great it was. Apparently, Putin congratulated him about like solving the war, or about solving like Israel-Palestine, because, that's working out so well. Like, I gotta say, I would love to be a fly on the wall, like to hear like exactly what was said in these Putin phone calls. Cause like, I gotta know, like, what is it? Does Putin have something on Trump? Is that what's happening? Like, is he like, "Donald, if you don't go along with this, then we will release the P tapes"? Like, is that what's happening? I just like, what is happening? Or is Trump just really stupid and he just really wants to be best friends with the dictator? Is that what's going on? Like, I Trump Putin summit on hold after Russia rejects ceasefire. Yeah, Russia is always rejecting everything. All they're doing is stalling. It's the same shit over and over and over again. Here we go. Come on, CBS News, hit us up.
Okay, so Olivia, throughout this broadcast, we've been talking about an anticipated phone call between President Trump and President Putin of Russia. We understand that call has just happened, so I have to ask you about it. The president just posted on Truth Social just moments ago.
Did he actually type this in all caps? Oh my God.
A little bit of what was said. He says, I have just concluded my telephone conversation with President Vladimir Putin of Russia, and it was very productive. President Putin says President Trump congratulated me and the United States on the great accomplishment of peace in the Middle East, something that he said had...
I bet Putin even said that too. I bet he even said peace in the Middle East while trying not to laugh. I bet that like he was just he was holding back laughter as he said those three words, or like those four words, peace in the Middle East, like
has been dreamed of for centuries.
Or peace in Middle East.
I actually believe that he said that the success in the Middle East will help in our negotiation in attaining an end to the war with Russia and Ukraine. President Putin thanked the First Lady Melania for her involvement with children. He was very appreciative and said that this will continue.
Yeah, I'm sure that he was super appreciative of Melania sticking her nose into it because apparently she influenced Trump in a really good way. Like apparently because I think she's from Slovenia and she probably knows like how terrible Russia is. And I guarantee she's smarter than Trump is. And yeah, so she probably pushed him in on that. But yeah, that's very funny. You better believe that Vladimir Putin doesn't give a shit about those kidnapped children.
Now, this is a big headline coming out of the president's post there on Truth Social. He goes on to say, we also spent a great deal of time talking about trade between Russia and the United States when the war with Ukraine is over.
I think this is what he really wants. He really just wants to trade with Russia. He wants the U.S. to be friends with Russia because Putin is a big daddy dictator and Donald Trump prefers the Giga Chad dictator over the virgin democratically elected Zelensky.
At the conclusion of the call, we agreed that there will be a meeting of our high-level advisors next week. The United States, he says, is very invested in this. Initial meetings will be led by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, together with various other people to be designated, and a meeting location is to be determined. Now, President Putin says President Trump, the two of them will then meet in an agreed-upon location, which will be either Budapest, Hungary, or elsewhere, to see if we can bring this inglorious war between Russia and Ukraine to an end. President Zelensky and I will be meeting tomorrow in the Oval Office, where we will discuss my conversation with President Putin and much more. President Trump concludes by saying, I believe great progress was made with today's telephone conversation. Now let's think about this.
Okay, we don't need the analysis because the Zelensky-Putin call, or the Zelensky Trump meeting already happened, and let's see what was said during it. Zelensky ready to join Trump-Putin talks after Frank White House. There was some other stuff. Did Trump and Zelensky's meeting turn into a shouting match? It was apparently a very, very not good meeting. Okay, well, top stories. Let's see what CNN has to say here. Yes, I agree. So, President Donald Trump's working lunch with his Ukrainian counterpart counterpart Vladimir Zelensky on Wednesday turned acrimonious when the U.S. leader insisted Ukraine make territorial concessions to Russia to end the war, according to European officials briefed on the meeting. Yeah, so we're back to this now. Trump, who would later endorse a freeze in current battle lines as part of a peace settlement, grew frustrated and raised his voice multiple times, the officials said. The episode was the latest chapter in the fraught relationship between the two men and amounted to another shift in Trump's approach to how the war will be settled. Yes, because the cycle has once more reached the Trump sucks up to Putin and actually believes him stage, because Trump listens to the last person that he talked to on basically every issue. Unless it's something that he is for some reason incredibly married to, like tariffs. Although maybe then not even that. But last month, after meeting Zelensky in New York, Trump claimed Ukraine might be able to regain all its territory lost to Russia. But now Trump is preparing for another high-stakes meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin, this time in Budapest. By the way, that's not happening. Like, Russia is basically saying, no. It was after a call with the Russian leader on the eve of the Zelensky meeting that Trump again insisted Kyiv must give up swaths of land for the conflict to end. Ugh. Trump shrugged off the apparent reversal on Monday. I never said they would win it. I said they could win, he said of Ukraine at the White House when he was meeting the Prime Minister of Australia. Anything could happen, you know? The war is very strange. You know, war is a very strange thing. A lot of bad things happen. A lot of good things happen. God damn it, he's such a child. He's such a child. He said he still believed Ukraine could win, but that he didn't think it would. Zelensky emerged from the meeting to brief European leaders on a call in which he sounded pessimistic about Trump's position, the European officials said. Yeah, I would too. God damn, Zelensky must be in like such a terrible spot right now. Like, it's so bad. He basically has to like suck up to Trump when, like, you know, he probably wants to say like not good things to him. Like, he probably wishes that he could just walk away from America and go find a better partner. But unfortunately, there's not really anybody else. Like, hopefully the Europeans can get their shit together. But even then, I don't know. Like, there's just like America is the big dog. A Ukrainian source separately called the White House meeting tense, but said there was no shouting, downplaying reports of a volatile encounter between the two leaders. Yeah, you would, of course, expect them to say that. That would make sense. Overall, the source called the meeting constructive, since Trump ultimately declared that a ceasefire be along the current front line. Zelensky later endorsed the idea in remarks to reporters. Yeah, Russia's not going to go for that either. Oh, hey, Maruzzi, how you doing? Yeah, if the stream lasts a little or if Loner doesn't go live today, I'm gonna try to go for like 8 hours because and I'll see if I can even get Dante and Avi to debate if they want to, or if Dante's around, because I know he's on vacation right now. So he should hopefully be around. He'll probably be driving because, you know, that's what he does. He discords and drives. Oh, also, I'm just gonna hop in here. The Halloween sounds, I can't with the Halloween sounds, man. They're very, very silly, but okay. Okay. Yeah, so Zelensky, of course, like the Ukrainians obviously would be down for a ceasefire. The problem is that like Russia never, they just break it immediately. EU needs to step up. Russia won't hold another year. It seems like their economy is starting to go belly up. Yeah, I keep hearing things like that. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but like maybe. But yeah, like they do need to step up. The thing is that from my understanding is that like the Russians have a particular thing that they would like to gain before they are basically willing to like ceasefire and freeze any lines. I think they have like a particular objective that they're trying to reach, because that they haven't let's see. Deep state map. There was like that they want to cut off Ukraine's access, I think, to something in particular. I think it's like along here. Um, and until they manage to do it, then they are not going to that they probably like they don't want to stop. Like basically they're trying to take as much as they possibly can. It is actually incredible. Like this is all they've managed to take in the given the length of time this war has been going on. And if you look at the movement on the front line, it has been so little. Um and yeah, like unfortunately Ukraine has endured some losses and whatnot, but it looks like down here they've still got these Russian troops encircled here, which like based. Um, Russia had made some gains up here, I think. Yeah, right here, unfortunately, because they were heading towards Sumy, which they really, really, really want to take. And I think they're trying to encircle Kramatorsk as well because they know they can't take it like head on. Yeah, see, there's Kramatorsk. See, you can see what they're doing. There's got and Sloviansk. They've got like they're trying to go around. Like they're clearly like they wanna do an old encirclement here, but they can't. They haven't been able to make it so far. And I mean, Ukraine has also taken back this. Yeah. Also, my God, the guys who made this map are so good. They've got like where is it? Oh, I think it's where's oh yeah, up here next to Finland. This territory that Russia still owns. I believe this was after the Winter War. This territory that used to belong to Finland. They've got this marked as occupied. Occupied in 1940 as a result of the Winter War, reoccupied in 1945. Yeah, like this was like I think it's funny that they're doing that. That's very very sort of amusing. But yeah, it's Russia is just they're just trying to get as much as they can. Anyway, asked about the European characterization of the meeting, the White House pointed to comments made Sunday on Air Force One. We think that what they should do is stop at the lines where they are, the battle lines, he said. The White House point. That Trump made. Yeah, so this is Trump, of course. The rest is very tough to negotiate if you're going to say, you take this, we take that. Yeah, I mean, really, the actual answer is Ukraine needs to Russia needs to GTFO because none of it is their land. I read yesterday that the Russian railway company is going bankrupt. That can't be good for the war. Oh yeah, absolutely not. And I think Ukraine's been like really hammering them with those drones. Like they've been like attack. I believe that's one of the things that they've been attacking, which has been rather interesting. So also, I'm just gonna. Okay. For Trump, ending the Russia-Ukraine war is now a top priority after he brokered a truce between Israel and Hamas to end the conflict in Gaza. He emphasized the need to end the war quickly in Friday's talks, the European official says. Yeah, he really just wants to get it over with. The thing that is like probably the most annoying to me is the fact that he's treating both sides as equal, as if they both have like equal grievances against each other and whatnot. Hello, Insomniac. It's so stupid. In the phone call with Trump a day earlier, Putin proposed a plan where Ukraine would surrender the eastern Donbass region in exchange for some Russian-held parts of the southern Kherson and Zaporizhia. I don't know how to pronounce. I know I'm pronouncing Zaporizhia wrong because I'm pronouncing it the way that Dylan pronounces it, and I know that I think Dylan pronounces it the Russian way because that Dylan gets names wrong. Let's see how you actually say it because I want to be respectful.
Zaporizhia.
What? But is that the, hold on. Is that the Russian or the Ukrainian way?
We are looking at how to
Oh my
pronounce the name
God.
of the city in Ukraine, as well as how to say more interesting names from Ukrainian that many mispronounce, so make sure to stay tuned to the channel. Zaporizhia.
Zaporizhia? Oh, okay. Zaporizhia. All right, cool. I guess I am saying it right. I mean, I'm probably not saying it right, but whatever. Because like I can't even. Okay. Yeah, so Russia's willing to give up some parts of Kherson and Zaporizhia regions, the European officials said. The proposal, which the officials characterized as a slightly less sweeping demand than what Putin raised during his August summit with Trump in Alaska, would still amount to a major loss of territory for Ukraine. Yeah, a major loss of territory where like a lot of those rich minerals and stuff are located, and like a lot of like good stuff that they obviously want to keep. Like it's just, and also that's not even to mention the fact that, as is so often brought up, they would also basically be condemning those people of Eastern Ukraine to live under Russian occupation, which is not something that I would wish on anyone. The proposal, which the officials characterized as slightly, yeah, okay. Trump later arrived at the position of ending the war along the current battle lines. Trump on Sunday denied. He asked Zelensky to concede the entire Donbass region, which Ukraine views as strategically important. It's cut up right now. I think 78% of the land is already taken by Russia, he said on Air Force One. They should stop right now at the battle lines. Go home, stop killing people, and be done. He thinks it's just so simple. Just realize you call yourself Kalinda. Oh yeah, it's just Kalinda. Wait, what's happening with the chat? Oh, there we go. That's weird. Yeah, it's just Kalinda. Yeah, I know. My name has two I's in it because without the two I's, it is like it doesn't without the two I's, like the name without the two I's was taken, but it's not even taken by someone who has a channel, which is annoying. Because that means, and like based on like my Googling of it, there's no way that I'm going to be able to get the name that I want, which irritates me. Because that like it makes it harder for people to find me. And I would really like to have like this branding and all this other stuff, right? And I don't really know what to do about that, like how it is that I can get my name. I should ask Stardust how she did it, because I'm pretty sure that at the beginning she had like a sort of weird version of her name, and then she managed to actually get the name that she wanted. And I'm pretty sure she managed to get it from YouTube too, because like I don't, yeah. So I don't know, that would be interesting. Or maybe I'll just change it to something else. I have no idea. Yeah. Like maybe I'll just change it to Kalinda Streams or something. I don't know. Just whatever, like just something like that. Just like for the at. Yeah, I have no idea, but it is annoying. Anyway, on Monday, Trump told reporters he had asked Putin during their phone call to stop attacks on civilian areas, but went on to talk about how many soldiers are dying. Yeah, and I'm sure that like Putin just basically completely deflected from that. Several people familiar had previously told CNN that last week's Trump-Zelensky meeting was tense, frank, and at times uncomfortable, with the two leaders split over the future of the war. Trump made clear to Zelensky in a direct and honest conversation that for now, the Ukrainian leader would not receive the long-range missiles that can reach far into Russia that he was seeking. One U.S. official said Trump was under the impression that Ukraine is seeking to escalate and prolong the conflict and is worried about potential losses during an upcoming harsh winter. Yeah, okay. Ukrainian ambassador to the U.S., Olga Stefanishyana, whatever, her name's Olga, Ambassador Olga, on Monday disputed that the meeting was aggressive or negative, saying that it was a dialogue on ending the war. She said Trump and Zelensky left their meeting Friday with full charity on next steps. I mean, yeah, of course, like the Ukrainians are obviously not going to say anything bad about Trump. According to the European officials, Zelensky and his delegation came to the White House with maps showing current battle lines, hoping to convince the US president to maintain and expand American support. Trump seemed uninterested in the arguments and forcefully insisted Ukraine agreed to land concessions for the war to end, they said. In an interview taped last week, Trump said the war for the war to end, Putin was going to take something. He's won certain property. This is ridiculous. This is just insane. Like, okay, Donald might makes right, Trump. I guess like you just don't care about like how any of this works, and you're basically perfectly fine just telling people that it's okay to essentially just you can just conquer whatever you want. I mean, what kind of signal does this send to China? I think it's pretty clear that Trump wouldn't have the balls to step up and defend Taiwan if they decided to try to take it. It's just insane. Both sides need to make a deal, another U.S. official said, arguing the conditions are only going to get worse. Zelensky cast the meeting as a pointed conversation in a post to social media, but said its outcome can really help bring this war closer to an end. Yeah. All right. Oh, hello. Yeah, so, I knew this was going to happen, unfortunately. I don't believe Trump will actually send any help to Ukraine until I see it happen. Otherwise, it's not going to happen because it's just stupid. Okay. So, we have another Republican group chat leak. So let's see here. Let me just pull up the articles. So this was the Young Republicans, the racist chat, but this is the new one from one day ago. Trump nominee says MLK Jr. holiday belongs in hell and that he has a Nazi streak, according to text. So this is Paul Ingrassia. And he wants to head like a whistleblower agency, and he was officially provided the nomination by Trump. And then yesterday, he withdrew from that nomination. Not just, I think, because of this, but because of other things as well. So like, I'm not necessarily going to read this. I read this already. Like if you guys want to read it, there it is. But yeah, like he basically, there's a whole bunch of stuff in here about him. He's like saying that like holidays commemorating anything relating to like Black history is bad and that he doesn't want any of these. And then he says stuff about like Black people come from shithole countries and like really racist stuff about like it being stuff in Black people's nature. Like basically he's just spewing Groyper stuff. Other stuff in here says that said that he went to a, he attended a rally that would like for Nick Fuentes and then afterwards played dumb. Other things, never trust a Chinaman or an Indian, never, like, yeah. And these are the young people that are like, this is Trump's Republican Party. Or actually, I shouldn't even just say that. Like, this is the Republican Party. This is what happens when you do the Southern strategy. You invite you like appeal to a whole bunch of racists. You don't shame them out of your movement. You don't do anything to help them. And then like, or you don't do anything to like, talk them out of these ideas in order to help them not be racist, because we don't talk about critical thinking in school or why these ideas are bad. We just say these ideas are bad and we don't equip people to actually deal with them. And then all you need is you just need like one guy who's willing to come along and have no filter and say, I won't be politically correct, and express a bunch of opinions that appeals to people like this. And that person in this case was Donald Trump. And then all of a sudden you get all of these people like they're okay with saying this kind of stuff. And then you get like people in the Republican Party dismissing it, not wanting to say anything about it. and then like bitching and crying when these things get leaked because the people who did the leaking are disloyal. And yeah, like it just like I said we're making Kwanzaa illegal the next Trump admin. That was the gist of my tweet. No Mughal, I don't even know what that word is, but I'm guessing it's not anything good. From Kwanzaa to MLK Day to Black History Month to Juneteenth, every single one needs to be eviscerated. We need competent white men in positions of leadership. The founding fathers were wrong that all men are created equal. We need to reject that part of our heritage. Like, when you're saying shit like that, yeah, this is just racist. Like, this guy's just racist. He's probably a groyper. But yeah, he attended a rally for Fuentes. But so the anti-Semitism stuff was one of the things that the Republicans were worried about not wanting to vote for him. Oh yeah, he also called the Israeli-Palestinian conflict a psyop a week before the October 7th, 2023 attack. You know, oh, and he said that it was bad that Fuentes got kicked out of Turning Point USA event in 2024. Yeah, this guy is not good. And other people in the group chat thankfully pushed back, and it looks like one of the participants leaked it. His lawyers basically said this was all fake, but you know, so yeah, we're just getting these group chat leaks left and right. And as a result, we've got some right-wing infighting here. So Ben Shapiro has something to say about this.
We'll get to all of it. First, October is packed with new releases on Daily Wire. Plus, tonight is a big one, the premiere.
Don't care.
For living is...
As well, here was the President of the United States granting that extraordinary honor to Charlie.
I also don't care about this.
Marco Rubio will defend our borders, our culture, and our citizens by enforcing our immigration laws. Aliens who take advantage of America's hospitality while...
Don't care about this.
Josh Shapiro also happens to be generally pro-Israel. This was a member of the radical anti-Israel left, in other words. And yet here is Josh Shapiro calling for accountability, especially in rhetorical terms, without actually calling Katie Neubauer and her family. They were attending the Oshkosh Farmers Market last Saturday when this moment took place. Here was Katie Neubauer describing to Fox.
Ben, you need some timestamps, buddy.
WLUK 11 in Green Bay and surrounding cities.
Katie Neubauer says she and her family were enjoying their Saturday morning at the Oshkosh Farmers Market this past weekend. But things took a turn, she says, when her 8-year-old child was handed a bracelet from a member of the Winnebago County Democratic Party's
terrible things in private to one another. That Bambi for just $1 at BAMBEE.com. Hope podcast. So here is what I hope will represent an honest rubric for dealing with issues like this. One, obviously, it is very cynical for Politico to target young GOP group chats while leaving left-wing chats untouched.
What?
Promise you, these same left-wing chats exist. They're just as bad, if not worse. They're university chats.
Yes, Ben, those chats probably too exist, but are those chats full of people who are, like, within the Democratic Party? Like, are Democrats the ones that are saying these things, or is it a bunch of dumb communists? Because these two things aren't the same. I'm not saying that, like, you're not going to find anybody crazy. Like, I'm sure, for example, that staffers of Bernie and AOC are probably significantly further to the left than either Bernie or AOC themselves. But that's probably like the only place where you might find that. Or, like, more than likely what you'll get is, like, social democrats. Now, on Israel, there might be a little bit more craziness. However, I don't know if there's going to be anything quite so bad as this, because this shit that we're talking about now has basically been enabled by the Republicans, by MAGA specifically.
Among professors that are just as bad, if not worse. All of that is true. All of that is true. Two, the right doesn't have an obligation to go totally insane over such chats. Okay, what the left likes to do and what the media love to do is they love to take stuff like this and then they say to every member of the Republican Party, you must personally condemn all of this. And the answer should be,
oh my God, he's so close. The lack of self-awareness is hilarious. Ben, you guys, you do that. That's what you guys did when Charlie Kirk got shot. That's what you did to us, to people on the left. You wanted to hold us accountable for every insane thing that a 10-follower TikTok account said that got amplified by fucking libs of TikTok on Twitter. You wanted to, like, use that to paint the entire Democratic Party. Except the difference is, unfortunately, that, like, a lot of the people in the Republican Party are actually insane. Maybe not Nazi insane, but they are insane. Oh, hello, Feli Goblin. This is gonna trigger me, isn't it? I just know it.
I'm happy to condemn the crap in there, but why am I responsible for it? I'm not responsible for that. Well, why is the implication even that I'm responsible for that? I don't believe it. And your implication that everyone on the right is responsible for a group of young Republicans who say terrible things in private to one another.
Yeah, but the left is responsible for all of our insane radicals who, by the way, are not even Democrats.
Somehow, that implicates the entire Republican Party, while meanwhile, the Attorney General candidate in Virginia publicly says things, and that doesn't implicate the entire Democratic Party. I mean, or Zoran Mamdani is going to be your New York mayor.
Yes, I know, Ben. I'm sure that Mamdani has given you a lot of mileage, but also, it's New York, okay? Get over it. Ben Shapiro is a blood pressure goblin indeed. Yeah, he is.
And that dude is just openly pro-terrorism. Like, obviously there is a difference. This Politico story, which is gaining all sorts of traction, is not in fact comparable to actual people running for high office in Virginia or in New York City or the Democratic Party at high levels engaging with this sort of nonsense.
Where have what? Also, like, I don't particularly, I think Mamdani's been crazy, but he's also moderated quite a lot, much to the rage of, like, the kinds of people that you're talking about, like the crazy leftists.
Third, when you're asked about somebody saying a bad thing, whether you're right or you're left, of course you ought to condemn the bad thing that is being said. I don't even understand the logic of not doing that. Are you obligated to defend the bad thing being said because the person who is questioning you is somehow, quote unquote, on the other side? Because that's precisely how you get to a left that defends Jay Jones. That's how you get there. That's how you get to a left that openly defends Zoran Mamdani. Fourth, forgiveness ought to be easily obtained, as I've said. But if you want forgiveness, you actually ought to ask for it. You actually ought to dissociate from the things that you say. I was saying stuff that was dumb. I got caught up in the edgelord moment online. Like, whatever it is. But this sort of preemptive forgiveness that people are...
I never thought that, damn, edgelord. It's so weird hearing, like, someone like Ben Shapiro, who is a more mainstream conservative, say that.
Willing to grant to their own side. You only get out of jail free if you ask to do so. You don't get it just because, like, preemptively. So you say something terrible, or you do something terrible, and people just preemptively forgive you. All that is an incentivization to do more of that thing. And I will say, finally, it actually is not sufficient to publicly proclaim you're not going to condemn these people while you don't say anything about their comments and instead just project to the other side. Because strategically, on a strategic level, this is how your party ends up being taken over by the ambulatory psychotics. Okay, I want to look at the left because that's how it happened. The left decided they would not, under any circumstances, condemn their own ambulatory psychotics because those people were part of their...
By the way, I would like to remind you all that during his interview with Ezra Klein, Ben Shapiro's, like, whole, the left, or, like, the thing that drove him crazy was Obama daring to, like, show empathy for Trayvon Martin, and Obama daring to talk about the issue of race. That was the thing that drove him crazy. And this was based on some weird notions that he had about Obama that were apparently pushed by Rush Limbaugh or something. Like, these people are not, they just think that the left has descended into madness based on, like, weird impressions that they have of us. It's very, very weird. Like, or it's honestly, it's probably just bad faith. Like, that's really probably what it is. Like, I'm sorry, but the Democrats really haven't moved that much. Have they gotten, like, more socially progressive? Sure. But, like, I would argue that has come with, like, they've moved with the country. And in some ways they've held themselves back in order to move with the country. Like, I remember Obama being against, like, gay marriage when he ran in 2008, but he wasn't actually against it. And it later came out that he was bullshitting. And I believe he even used those words. He's running defense for Nazis. How does any right-wing Jew even listen to this dude? Oh no, he's not running defense for Nazis, Funky. Don't you worry. That, like, this, the title of this is, Will Anyone Fight the Radicalization? It's just that right now he has to do this but the left crap before he starts talking about the problem on the right. And that's where I suspect this video is going to get spicy. Because Ben Shapiro is one of the only people who called out what was in that Republican group chat instead of like running away from it like JD Vance did, or dismissing it, or crying about like the fact that it got leaked in the first place.
Coalition?
Or rather, I should say he's like probably one of the only like commentators online, because obviously there have been plenty of like Republican politicians who came out and condemned it.
And they couldn't do it, or they would lose. And you know what ended up happening? The alligator ate them first, not last. They ended up being taken over by the crazy wing. Because if you lose your systemic immunity...
No, they didn't. That's just your delusion. Or it's because liberalism is a threat to your way of life.
...to crazy tends to be really, really, really infectious. Okay, first of all, let's just be clear about something. There's this weird idea on the right that the left wins because they're totally unified and they completely side with one another. The left is not winning. I know that we are sort of a depressive right, that we've gotten addicted to the depressive. The left is not winning. Donald Trump has been president those times, 2 times. Republicans are in control of the Senate. Republicans are in control of the House. Republicans are in control of the majority of governor's mansions. Republicans are in control of the majority of state legislatures.
Yes, unfortunately, the left right now isn't really winning, but I don't really think that Donald Trump is either. It ain't going well.
The left is not winning because of their unity. They're being destroyed because of the thing I'm talking about happening on the right. Because they decided that the nut jobs and the radicals in their own party could not be condemned under any circumstances. They decided to feature Ilhan Omar.
I mean, like, listen, to a certain extent, I do think that it's fair to like kind of condemn that, but also that's what I think that like there are certain things that ought to be condemned, that like, or certain things that really should be made clear that, hey, we're not about this or that within the Democratic Party. But also at the same time, a lot of this is like the right is like, for example, I feel like the trans issue encapsulates this so much. And like the trans sports issue in particular, it was the fact that like there were a bunch of really far left people who like were online or who were making TikToks or whatever, some small number of whom were also like teachers, who got amplified and harassed by libs of TikTok. And the right basically found all these people and said, these are the people that are representative of the trans rights movement and also the left and Democrats as a whole. And they painted this whole thing. And unfortunately, like, I think that in some cases, the Democrats didn't necessarily do a great job of distancing themselves from that kind of thing. But it was also probably fine for them to just not talk about it, even though the right just completely obsessed over it. Like, I feel like the correct response to the trans sports issue probably should have been something to the effect of them going or at least my position on it is that it's something that should be decided on a sports league by sports league basis. Like, at least for competitive things, like just let the leagues decide. And because usually when they do it, they're usually doing it based on like what the science says of a particular sport. Because like every sport is different, and some sports like where like this shit doesn't matter, and in other sports maybe it does. And like there should be things taken. Like this is really complicated, and obviously if you transition before puberty, or like you didn't go through the wrong puberty, then I don't think it matters, and of course you should be able to compete. But like if you were training before you transitioned, then there might be like some advantage bestowed on you, even if it's small, depending on what the sport is and whatnot. And like, yeah, and like, so like, but I think that should probably just be the position. The position should just be let the leagues decide. The government shouldn't have anything to do with this. And as far as like regular school goes, just let them do it. Who cares? Because at that point, sports isn't about being competitive. Unless it's like a contact sport or something, I guess. But otherwise, just let them do it. Who cares? Like, because that's about fun, and like you don't want to exclude trans people from social activities, because that just isolates them further, you know. And like I feel like you just have to. The problem is that the left is really bad at arguing about trans stuff. And really, I think arguing about trans stuff is like cancer anyway, because it's just so stupid. It just turns into men are men and women are women, and ugh. Anyway,
on the cover of magazines and unite around the crazy college protesters and the BLM rioters and the transgender radicals. And guess what? They got their.
I mean, not all the BLM rioters were bad though. Like, I don't know. The BLM thing was so disappointing. I need to stop pausing.
Asses kicked because of it. Yes, they didn't expel people from their party, but moderates walked away. The non-crazy walked away. This is the dirty little secret of how Donald Trump won the election of 2024. He ran as a moderate. People who were moderate picked him.
No, that's not true. Oh my God. That's just what you want to tell yourself because your pet issue is, oh my God, the transes and oh my God, the radical left. Donald Trump won because of the inflation. It's the economy, stupid. It's that simple. Okay? It's because that people had this feeling, this vibe that things were worse. And for some people, things probably were worse. Although, I don't know, like, it's weird because when you look at the data, that doesn't really make sense. But that's what they felt like, you know, and I guess that everybody just forgot about COVID and the fact that Trump was president during it when things got really bad. But that was it. It was this weird perception that people had.
Above the unified left that was siding with all of their radicals and defending all of their radicals and massaging all of their radicals. Because it turns out this is a very big country with an awful lot of people. And the vast majority of them are not loon bags. And the vast majority of them don't like the lunacy.
But Donald Trump absolutely did not run as a moderate. He talked about doing mass deportations, for God's sake. That's not a moderate position.
And beyond that, we need to be real about the agenda of many of the people who are continuing to rely on the kindness of the quote-unquote traditional Republicans who quote-unquote don't want to attack right. Marjorie Taylor Greene is dividing the Republican Party, not the people criticizing Marjorie Taylor Greene. She is attacking the president day in and day out. Who's dividing the party? The people who mention it or Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Oh man, what is she saying? Now I gotta know. I haven't been following this at all, so we're gonna discover together. I know she did an interview on CNN. She's zogging out. Oh, of course she is. I had a feeling that it had something to do with anti-Semitism. Okay, let's see here. What does... Oh, well, let's go to her Twitter. And then we'll see what Newsweek has to say. Marjorie Taylor Greene accused of betraying Trump by top mega influencer. Damn, who was it? Who was it that did it? The anonymous social media account. Really? A top GOP influencer was is an anonymous social media account? Is that what's actually, I guess. You know what? I hope that Elon Musk does that thing where every account on Twitter that like gets any sort of traction or whatever, that like their location is disclosed, and not the location that they said that it was, but their actual location, because it would just be really funny to find out that all of these like top accounts are like actually located in like Russia or China or whatever, and they're just pretending to be American. Okay. In August, Greene criticized a report that claimed her personal wealth had skyrocketed since joining Congress. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if it has. I'm pretty sure she does like a podcast or something. Oh, it was Cat Turd. Cat Turd attacked her. I bet Cat Turd is actually a Russian dude. And I bet he's paid too. I think she went on CNN. Let's see what she has to say here. Most of my Republican colleagues are finally talking about the affordability health insurance crisis. But yesterday, our GOP conference call, GOP conference call, Speaker Johnson said he has ideas and pages in policy, but he did not say a single plan. I think this is unacceptable. Democrats created this nightmare 15 years ago, then made it worse in 2021 by extending the ACA tax credits that are now expired. Bro, okay, you're really dumb if you think that the ACA made healthcare in America worse. Like, what is that? I wonder what her solution is. I feel like she probably doesn't have one, but I don't want to get into that right now. But okay, yeah, so she's talking about, like, she's going all populist. And she wants to release the Epstein files too, which is something that I imagine probably gets MAGA real mad. So I've been saying the cost of living is hurting Americans and not improving. Oh yeah, and she's also talking about the cost of living too. So yeah, she's like gone full populist basically. Although she was always a populist, but like sort of I guess extra more populist. Oh yes, and then of course we have our obligatory whining and crying about like the fact that trans people exist and are featured in TV shows. Oh no. Okay.
Marjorie Taylor Greene spent the last 24 hours ripping into Republican men. For example, Marjorie Taylor Greene, apparently, she tore into her party and said GOP men in the Congress are quote unquote weak. Apparently, and now she's getting this media blitz from the left while torching Speaker Johnson, torching Donald Trump, accusing Donald Trump of a cover-up over Epstein. Quote, whereas President Trump has a very strong dominant style, he's not weak at all. A lot of
Based, let them fight.
the men here in the House are weak, Greene said. There's a lot of weak Republican men, and they're more afraid of strong Republican women. So they always try to marginalize the strong Republican women that actually want to do something and actually want to achieve. Sure, that must be it. It can't be that you've been out there day and night getting the strange new respect from the left by attacking Trump over his foreign and domestic policy while engaging in the most rudimentary, conspiratorial nonsense. If you point that out, are you the divider, or is it Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's busy taking victory laps on CNN? When people keep trotting out folks like Alex Jones, and the idea is that if you don't, quote-unquote, unite with Alex Jones, somehow you're undermining the party. It's Alex Jones who's torching members of the Trump administration. I mean, here's Alex Jones on Tucker Carlson's show, torching, in order, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino. Who's the one who's dividing things? Who's the one attacking the president's policy? Who's the one who's shooting inside the tent, by the way? I'm getting rather tired of this idea that everybody who is not on the sort of extreme wing of the conspiratorial right, those are the ones who are wrecking the party by not accepting the extreme wing of the conspiratorial right that is constantly attacking inside the party. It's a wild supposition. Here's Alex Jones. This is again within the last 48 hours.
From what I've heard, Bondi's not bad. She's just lazy. Bongino's emotional and a big baby. Patel is compromised. And it's just so sad.
I mean, like, I just wonder, is that who's dividing? Who's the big divider? Again, politics.
I mean, this is what happens when you try to appeal to like crazy extreme people, which Donald Trump did. He went on Alex Jones's show, for God's sake, back when he ran like in his first term. Like Alex Jones has been like a Trump shill. I don't know where he's been at lately, but like, yeah, this is what occurs. This is the kind of crap that you're going to get when like these are the people that you appeal to. Of course, they're eventually going to come at you. And also because like eventually if you appeal too hard to like crazy populist conspiracy theorists, they're going to get mad that you're not actually changing anything. Which, of course, Trump's not actually changing anything, or he's not making things better, because populists never make things better.
Coalitional business. And people can vote for whomever they want. But the question now is not about voting. The question right now is about who gets to define the message and the future of the Republican Party. That's an ongoing battle all the time. That's an ongoing battle on the right. And if you don't call this stuff out, you end up with the right-wing version of AOC running your party. So yes, obviously, when it comes to the political party, when it comes to the Republican Party, when it comes to the conservative movement, some standards must be applied. Because the standards end somewhere. So the question is, which standard gets applied? How broad should that standard be? How much should certain people be respected who are trying to seize leadership of that standard and carry the banner forward? Anti-left is an electoral strategy. But we are not talking here about electoral strategy. We are talking about who gets to lead the movement, how that should be dealt with, how bad ideas ought to be condemned. And if you're not willing to do
Oh my God, he's purring so loud.
that on your own side, then frankly, I don't have a lot of respect for you when you're attacking the other side for doing it. I don't think it's equivalent on both sides. I do not believe that the permission structures for violence on the right are the
Yeah, it's definitely way worse on the right, but you won't admit that. And also, we have the data to back that up. But we understand, Ben, that you are still like a partisan hack who cannot see that. And like, the only reason why you're mad about this is because that a lot of these extremists that are going absolutely insane, they don't want you in the party either, because they don't like Israel and they don't like your people.
same as the permission structures for violence on the left. I don't think that they go as deep. I don't think that they're as pervasive. And I don't think on a raw level, they're as creative of as much violence in the moment right now. But the notion that your moral obligation to call out bad behavior and
like, this is, do y'all remember that scene in The Dark Knight? Like,
It's craziness. It's too much. should have thought about that before you let the clown out of the box.
Yep. It's that. Like the Republicans, they let the clown out of the box. And now they have to deal with the consequences.
Violent language and ugly stuff ends at the political river, that is a great way for a republic to fall apart, because then there is no trust. Then there's no trust. What is the common rule that applies to everyone? Then it's the law for my enemies. For my friends, everything. For my enemies, the law. Right? And at that point, you can't have a functional republic. You really, really can't. And as I say, the left is engaged in this stuff full time. I don't understand the practical argument, by the way, that the left is winning because of it, because they clearly are not.
I mean, like, they're not really, but whatever. I understand, Ben, that like your view of the left is colored entirely by crazy people online, and that is what you want to think the left is, and that's what you want your audience to think that they are.
But I mean, the left is engaged in this full time, which is why Zohran Mamdani is likely to be the next mayor of New York City. There's more on this in a moment. First, this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make.
Yes. Zohran Mamdani is likely to be the next mayor of New York City because he won the Democratic primary in New York City, an incredibly blue place. This is a thing that happens. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene also won her primary in an incredibly red place. But I guess, like, you don't care if extremists get elected on your party side, and it doesn't matter to you, except, well, now I guess apparently it does. But when it happens with the Democrats, then you're, like, super mad about it. I mean, it doesn't matter. Bernie's been in there for ages, and he hasn't really, like, the extent to which he has moved the party left. And like, I do think that he contributed by talking about Medicare for all, and that definitely has helped. And like, as a result of that, you guys might eventually get a public option. One will hope. Okay. Don't care.
Stacked. Put all that will pay Medicare first. Can't always count on big institutions. Ways to protect and support one of the hardest.
Jeez.
AI debate. /Shapiro for 35% off your first month subscription. Apparently, there's going to be a debate between Zohran Mamdani and Andrew Cuomo and Curtis Sliwa this evening. Sliwa, really is sort of the complicating factor in the race right now. If it comes down to Cuomo and Mamdani, Cuomo.
All right, yeah, I don't need to hear him cry about, but it's pretty funny that oh my God. Sorry, okay. Yeah, that's rather amusing to me, that this is happening now. Okay, I'm gonna feed the cat, and then we're gonna watch this 60 Minutes thing. Maybe we'll see if 60 Minutes gets real mad if I try to do this. By the way, I had to use my VPN in order to be able to watch this because it's geofenced. Which is, one of the main reasons to get a VPN is to get around the geofence. And it's probably one of the main things that I use it for. I mean, I use it for other stuff too, which we won't talk about, but that's one of the main reasons that I use it for. I will be right back. Come on, buddy. Alrighty. Boop, boo, boo. Let's see here. So, yeah, we can watch this 60 Minutes interview. Let's see what happens.
60 Minutes overtime.
So this was Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff going on 60 Minutes. And I want to watch this because I think that it would be super interesting to see whether or not these guys actually know anything about the Middle East. And I think that that would be very, very funny. So let's update the title here a little.
All set, Leslie. Thank you.
Okay. So I understand that you were up at 4:30 in the morning, this morning, working, what, on phase 2? What were you working on?
So Steve is a very early riser, and my kids get up early to go to school, so the time before they get up is usually a great time for us to catch up before the day and go over what's been happening overseas. So this morning, we were talking about a lot of the issues of getting the aid into Gaza and deconflicting some of the misunderstandings.
Deconflicting, meaning?
Meaning that you have a lot of people with good intentions right now. An example is the UN is trying very hard to get food into the people of Gaza. The Turks were offering to send a recovery and rescue team in to help search for some of the dead hostages that we're looking to recover. And there's just a lot of miscommunication that stalls and holds up some of these efforts. So getting all sides' perspectives and finding a mechanism to get quick adjudications and the right adjudications is something that's very necessary to put in place.
I heard the president ask you what the chances were for success.
Yes.
And you said?
100%. And he said, why do you feel so confident?
Yeah.
And I said, well, we can't afford to fail.
We just kept on thinking to ourselves, this finish line is about saving lives.
I need to know if you did some bare knuckle stuff. You know, I think of the real estate negotiation as hard-nosed, get your dukes up.
There were a couple intense moments that we had, but what led to this was really the trust that we were able to build. And I was trained in foreign policy really in President Trump's first term by seeing an outsider president come into Washington.
It's funny. He was trained in foreign policy in Trump's first term. Like, I wonder if Kushner even knew anything about any of this before he jumped in, or before he was given this Middle East envoy job. Maybe he had business dealings with the Saudis and that's why he thought he could do it. I mean, I know that he had business dealings and stuff
with a different school of foreign policy than had been brought in place for the 20 or 30 years prior. And his foreign policy was really about pragmatic realism, right?
Hang on. The cat.
Pragmatic stances, trying to use strength to avoid wars, and figuring out how to make deals, not lecture the world. And so the way that...
Wait, what does that mean? Make deals and not lecture the world?
Focus on interests over values sometimes, and figure out where do we have joint interests with other countries and pursue those joint interests, and then where you have differences on interests or values, discuss those privately and try to find ways to get it to the best place possible. But the way that we were successful in the first term with a lot of the different trade deals and peace negotiations like Abraham Accords and ending the GCC dispute was that we never approached it with people like we were across the table from you. We sat with the people from other countries and we said, let's agree on the same objective. And then once we agreed on the objective, we kind of locked arms and said, let's figure out ways that we can work together to try and get there. We joke with the Abraham Accords that we succeeded at Plan C, but only because we went through the alphabet 3 times and failed at every letter and kept going, and we never quit.
And was that true here as well?
We probably went through the alphabet 7 or 8 times.
I think so, yeah.
And
this was more complex.
I heard that one of the things that was different from a diplomatic approach was that you took risks, more risks, a lot of risks. Would you agree with that?
Well, first I would say that President Trump is a very different sort of president to work for. He delegates well. I don't think people realize that. He gave us a lot of authority to negotiate.
The glaze, guys, the glaze. Also, of course he gave you a lot of authority because he doesn't know anything about any of this.
He understood the dynamics of it. We put him in the room. We explained it to him, I think, thoroughly. But he gave us lots of authority, Leslie, and I...
To make decisions without having to check in all the time.
Yeah, and it's not to say, by the way, that we wouldn't check in. We did check in often. Mm-hmm. But that feeling of comfortability on our part, it allowed us to freewheel it a little bit.
Give us an example of the freewheeling. Give us some insight into how that worked.
After the missile strike in Qatar from Israel, Steve and I basically we're very upset about that. We
Well, I mean, at least he says Qatar, right? Or Qatar.
thought that that really was not a smart strategic move, and it violated a lot of the trust that we felt like we deserved from the Israeli side. And so at that point, Steve and I basically sat together and said, we need to take a whole new approach, and perhaps with all of this chaos can come an opportunity. And so we decided to take the previous ceasefire proposal and then the end of war proposal that we've been working on and merge it together into one document, and then focus on seeing if we can get the Qataris and the Arab world on board. And so we put that together, spoke with the Qataris, made a lot of progress, brought it to the president, and he said, I love this idea, let's go all in, and let's push very hard to get the Arab world aligned, and then we'll figure out how to get Israel on board and turn this whole negotiation around.
Okay, I'm going to come back to the attack on the compound in Doha, but let's move forward for 1 second. So you have both done a lot of business with the Gulf states, billions and billions of dollars worth of business. And you've done some of the business while this negotiation has gone on. And that has raised some issues of conflict. I mean, some blurring of a line between, what you're doing in terms of foreign policy and benefiting financially from what's going on.
So first of all, Leslie, nobody's pointed out any instances where Steve or I have pursued any policies or done anything that have not been in the interests of America. Number two
perception?
is, but Leslie, we can't spend our time focused on perception as much as we have to focus on the facts. We're here to do good. These are impossible tasks. And because this is important, I've volunteered my time to help the president and Steve try to make progress. But Steve nor I will be involved in awarding contracts or figuring out who does business, in Gaza after.
Well, from my standpoint, Leslie, I'm not in business anymore.
Yeah, but your family is.
Yeah, sure. You might not be involved, but that doesn't mean that people won't grease your palms afterwards.
But I've divested. Like Jared, I receive no salary, and I pay all my own expenses.
This has become an issue.
What people call conflicts of interest, Steve and I call experience and trusted relationships that we have throughout the world. If Steve and I didn't have these deep relationships, the deal that we were able to help get done that freed these hostages would not have occurred. We have trusted relationships in the Arab world and even in Israel, where we've both done business in the past, but that means they trust us, we understand their cultures, we understand how they work, and we're able to use those that knowledge and skill set to try to do things that advance the world.
I would agree exactly with what Jared said, and I like his statement that conflict of interest is a terminology used by some, and we call it.
I really, really hope that they actually talk about like the details of the peace deal and some of the things they had to consider, and that like Leslie here actually pushes them on that stuff in order to get information.
Experience, we really do.
You call conflict of interest experience?
Because we don't think there was a conflict of interest, Leslie. That's why. Because we don't think that we crossed any ethical barriers. Because there becomes this sort of perception that there might be a conflict of interest because we can call Sheikh Mohammed in Qatar directly, or because we can call Bibi directly, or because we can call the foreign minister of Turkey, who is a very critical person in this equation, or call MBZ in the Emirates, or MBS.
Get him on the phone.
Immediately,
yeah.
and garner support. The president, when we went to that UNGA meeting with the Arab leaders, came out of that with almost unanimity, a consensus support from everybody there. We had been working those telephone lines to all the leaders of those countries. We were not talking to junior people or lieutenants over there. We were talking directly to the people who make the final decisions. And that ultimately became very, very critical to us being successful.
I want to ask you about a statement you made that may have framed your outlook on this. Jared, you said, issues are simple. It's the people who are complicated and complex. Issues are simple? Now that really is inverting the way diplomacy has worked.
Yeah. Well, I agree with him, by the way. I agree with that statement. I say all the time.
And your issues were so thorny, they're still hard to get through.
I like to say, Leslie, and it's a version of what Jared, you quoted Jared as just saying, I like to say that we're sort of like, our title should be Secretary of Miscommunication and Correcting Miscommunication, because that's a lot of what we were doing out there. We were trying to build trust between people who didn't trust each other because of decades of mis and distrust, and that's not an easy thing to correct.
Can I say on the issues are simple and the people are complicated?
Yeah.
When I first started looking at this file, I spoke to everyone who'd been involved in the Middle East diplomacy for the 20 years prior.
All the historians and all of those people.
Yeah, and the way they were explaining things to me just made no sense. And the foundational idea that I came to is that people just want to be able to live with security and live freely. They want to be together. They want to have economic opportunity. They want their children to be able to live a better life. And they want to safely and freely practice whatever religion they choose to practice. And that, for me, was really what it was about. And so when you think about everything through that light, you have all these old historical conflicts or balkanization of communication. And it really is just getting people to focus on how do we make the future better versus getting stuck in these old conflicts.
We want to walk through, chronologically, and we want to start with the bombing in Doha. We've been told that bombing, the Israelis bombing the compound where the Hamas negotiators were in the capital of Qatar, that was a turning point, that the Israelis had crossed some line. Explain how that was a turning point. What went through everybody's mind? How did it move your negotiations from one place to another place?
Well, Leslie, we were on that, I want to say Monday. It was Monday, Jared, right? Yeah, we were Monday. It was my turn to host the negotiation. So me, Ron Dermer, who's the lead minister in Israel, and Jared were at my home, and we were going through the peace proposals that we were putting on the table. And at the time, we were discussing compromise deals. We were discussing what they called the 10 and 10. 10 hostages come out, 10 get left for the final negotiation. We were discussing a complete deal. And we were sending, Jared was drafting, he had his computer out, and he was drafting, and we were, the three of us, having what I thought was a very productive session. And we were sending these drafts back to the Qataris, who were sitting in the room with...
in Doha.
In Doha, presumably Hamas, and they were going over things. And we came away thinking that we were awful close to a deal. And in fact, I was supposed to go to Paris on Friday and meet Sheikh Mohammed and several other people. We had agreed to that trip, and we came up with this notion that we would let Hamas have a 4.5-day period of time to get back to us as to whether the deal was done or not. And we woke up the next morning to find out that there had been this attack. Wow. And of course, I was called by the president.
You had no idea, obviously.
None whatsoever. You know, I think both Jared and I felt, I just feel we felt a little bit betrayed.
Now, I had heard that the president,
Interesting.
he was furious.
I mean, I think that, yeah, I think we knew that he was mad about that, but that is interesting because, that's like, that kind of sort of cuts between the whole, like, Israel and America are walking hand in hand thing. But Trump and Bibi, trouble in paradise, or there probably has been for a while, really.
I think he felt like the Israelis were getting a little bit out of control in what they were doing, and that it was time to be very strong and stop them.
A little bit out of control. Bruh, they've been out of control since you guys got elected. That's like they started going crazy and just doing whatever they wanted in Gaza. But I guess you don't care about that as much, The 3-month aid cutoff, whatever, yeah.
From doing things that he felt were not in their long-term interests.
People should understand that Netanyahu, the Israelis, bombed the peacemakers, bombed the negotiating team.
And by the way, Leslie, it had a metastasizing effect because the Qataris were critical to the negotiation, as were the Egyptians and the Turks. And we had lost the confidence of the Qataris. Right. And so Hamas went underground, and it was very, very difficult to get to them. And
they were your link to Hamas.
Absolutely.
You were dealing through the Qataris to make your proposals to Hamas.
And it became very, very evident as to how important and how critical that role was.
But there was something that happened that brought the Qataris back in, and that was this phone call that I think President Trump actually forced Netanyahu to make to the Qataris.
I wouldn't call it forced.
You wouldn't?
No, I would
Look
say
that
I was
becoming a diplomat.
Yeah.
Clearly.
I would say that apology was pivotal. It was the linchpin that got us to the next place. It was really, really important that it happened. And I think we spent, with the president, at his direction, we spent a lot of time discussing it with Dermer, discussing it with Prime Minister Netanyahu, and then the president weighed in.
He was tough with Netanyahu.
President Trump had a great line in a speech in the Knesset where he said, Bibi's very tough, but that's what makes him great. And ultimately, Prime Minister Netanyahu wasn't going to do anything or say anything or agree to anything that he didn't feel comfortable with, but he knew what needed to be done at that moment to make peace, and I give him a lot of credit for meeting the moment and doing what needed to be done in order to get this deal done. The goal of the phone call was to help things move forward, and now there's a trilateral mechanism between the countries, which didn't happen before, so this is the first time there's a formal mechanism now between Israel and Qatar, and I believe over time, Israel and Qatar could actually turn out to be incredible allies in the region to advance things forward.
The apology needed to happen. It just did. We were not moving forward without that apology, and the president said to him, people apologize. I remember him saying, I apologize sometimes. I'm talking about President Trump. And
rarely.
I'm sure Donald Trump loves when people apologize to him. Oh, the video is a little quiet. Hold on. I have it set to be the same as, but it might just be that the 60 minutes thing is quiet. I'll just bump up the OBS desktop audio a little bit.
I don't know about that. I've seen him.
Is that better?
Okay, 3 times.
Let me know if that's better.
No, President Trump told Prime Minister Netanyahu that it was time to make peace. And he said, we're not going to make you do anything that will create long-term security issues for your country, but we want you to work very closely with us and be flexible on the areas where you can be flexible in order to give us what we need to get the Arab world on board.
Good morning, American Progressive.
And get this deal done.
So after this, the Qataris are back in, and they were kind of squeezing Hamas, and you were kind of squeezing the Israelis. Is that the right way to say it? And how did things move forward from there?
I don't think squeezing is the right word. I think refining the different variables that were truly necessary.
Now you're the diplomat.
No, I say this very sincerely, which is, at the end of the day, it goes back to the issues were pretty simple. We wanted the hostages to come out. We wanted a real ceasefire that both sides would respect. We needed a way to bring humanitarian aid into the people. And then we had to write all these complex words to deal with the 50 years of stupid word games that everyone in that region is so used to playing. Both sides wanted the objective, and we just need to find a way to help everyone get there.
But you were dealing with the Israelis, and the Qataris were dealing with Hamas, and you were dealing with the Qataris.
Yes and no. The Qataris were the interlocutors directly talking to Hamas, but then we were on the phone with the Qataris, the Egyptians, and the Turks. And the notion was to convince everybody that those 20 Israeli hostages who were alive were no longer assets for Hamas. They were a liability.
How did they become a liability and not their sort of
because they weren't
bargaining chip?
What did Hamas gain by keeping these hostages? You had tens of thousands of Palestinians who were killed in these wars. You have half of Gaza, or more than half of it, is absolutely destroyed. And so what's been the gain? And so they saw the commitment from President Trump and the Arab mediators to say, we want to help the Palestinian people, we want to help them find a way to have a better life, and that can't begin until the hostages are returned and this war is ended.
So the same day of the phone call, I think, the president announced his 20-point plan for peace in the region, and the Israelis were supposed to stop the bombing, and Hamas was supposed to release the hostages as point 1 out of the 20 points. So how did you move from there to get an agreement? Because it wasn't, you weren't that close that day.
So the way we designed the 20-point plan with President Trump was to give it enough room so that we can then not get into the same technical, elongated negotiations that had occurred in the past and give a lot of people the ability to stall and kill the deal. So we tried to make everything as defined as possible. And what that did was it put the ball in the court of Hamas, and it turned the Arab world against them, because now the Arab world had endorsed this plan, and President Trump had gotten Israel to agree to the plan. So whereas 2 weeks earlier Israel was globally isolated, within 2 weeks Hamas was now globally isolated, and their Arab benefactors were now all saying it's time to make a deal. So that maneuver changed the entire global dynamic, and what then we did is we said, well, they need to respond. So the Qataris, the Turks, and the Egyptians all went in together to sit with Hamas and said, it's time to make this deal, and let's figure out what we really need to make it in a way where you could have the assurances you need to feel like it can be successful.
Does that lead to the Sharm el-Sheikh meeting on October 8th?
It does, but we shifted the narrative, and that helped with the Arab mediators. But it was also important at the same time, Leslie, that Hamas felt that there were certain things in that 20-point plan that benefited them. And it was important that we were able to demonstrate that the president stood behind that. An amnesty program, all kinds of other things, redeployment of Israeli forces, aid coming in. And it was important that we demonstrate that, because you can't make a deal where you don't consider each person on the other side. It's got to be a fair deal, or the deal's going to be broken.
One of the points was that Hamas did not have to leave Gaza. I guess that was something that was important to them.
Well, if you go through, normally when there's wars, they usually give the deck of cards where they have all the different top generals, second-level generals, third-level generals. We said to the Israelis is everyone who you sought to target after October 7th has basically been killed. And so it's been a major turnover with Hamas. They've lost over 20,000 soldiers in this conflict. And so at some point you have to stop the killing, and you have to give an opportunity for something new and better to hopefully come and take its place. And if people can get tired of the war, then maybe they're ready to try peace.
But I heard that the Israelis did not want to stop the war, despite that argument.
I think everyone wants to end war. I don't think they believed that it was possible to stop the war in a way where they can get their hostages back and where it wouldn't pose a threat again from Gaza.
I mean, I think it depends which Israelis you ask in terms of stopping the war. My understanding is that 70% of Israelis want to stop the war, at least according to polling data that was from, like, I think a few months ago. But I don't know that Bibi wants to stop the war. Ben-Gvir and Smotrich certainly don't want to stop the war. They would like the war to continue because they want to resettle Gaza and take all of it. Hello, Bill.
Bibi had set forth 5 principles to end the war. And it became very clear to him that diplomatically, in this 20-point agreement, that we had absorbed those 5 principles, and yet created other points where Hamas felt that they were being heard and they were being respected. And it was the joining of those 2 things that led to this.
So the Israelis are on board, at least for part 1 of the plan. Now you go to Sharm el-Sheikh, and the whole point is to get Hamas on board. So tell us about this meeting. Set the stage.
Well, before you go to Sharm el-Sheikh, after Bibi was at the White House with President Trump, and they announced his agreement to President Trump's 20-point plan, then there was a couple days of waiting to see what would Hamas do. And that Friday in the afternoon, we were getting word from the mediators that they were going to come out positive, but with a couple of conditions and different things that they wanted to see modified in any final agreement. But the vibe we were getting was quite positive.
Well, first, one thing I'm going to point out is that we were getting, because of our relationships, and this goes back to that conflict of interest question you had for us, but our relationships were direct with the leaders of these 3 countries. And we were hearing that Hamas was positive on the deal. And yet I was reading intelligence reports every day and getting briefings from the CIA 3 times a day, and those intelligence briefings were suggesting that Hamas was going to say no. And so Jared and I had to make a decision as to where we thought this was going. And both of us, we didn't need to convince one another. We really felt that this was going in a positive way. And sure enough, Hamas came out.
I mean, I suspect that those intelligence reports were at least right in some regard, because, like, Hamas doesn't want to disarm. And I think that by now we all know that.
and said, we accept the president's plan. And that allowed us to get into the next gear.
Yeah. And one thing that also caused confusion after that was they put in some language that was really very face-saving for them in order to do. And one thing I would tell everyone is in the Middle East, you just have to ignore all the public statements that everyone puts out because they're all just talking to their political bases. But the message they were telling us was that they were on board with releasing the hostages. They wanted to end the war. They wanted to negotiate on some of the different variables.
I feel like Witkoff actually understands the Middle East and is a good negotiator here. And Jared is just here because of nepotism. Yeah. I mean, that might actually be true of Witkoff. He certainly doesn't understand Ukraine, though. That's for sure. And like, although I think that, like, at least to a certain extent, it seems like what Jared is saying here is correct. That like public statements are often about appeasing your people and everything. But at the same time, with regards to Hamas, at least, I think that their actions always are going to speak louder than anything they say, whether it be publicly or behind the scenes. Because that they want to, because they don't want to leave. Conduit. I mean, you could say with his dead eyes and soulless demeanor, he at least understands Putin. Wait, who? Witkoff? I think Witkoff likes to pretend or likes to think that he understands Putin. Maybe to a certain extent that he does. I feel like Jared has more of a soulless demeanor than Witkoff does.
In the agreement, but on the little stuff and not the big stuff. What Steve and I said to the mediators is, let's go to Sharm el-Sheikh, we'll do the negotiation, but we would prefer that they pre-agree to as many things as possible. We don't have to start the negotiations when we get there. There are certain issues that could be adjudicated now, and if they're not going to agree to those issues, then let's not bother.
Witkoff is just one of the king's useful idiots. Yeah, true. I mean, he doesn't really, he's certainly also a useful idiot for Putin and Russia. Mr. couldn't even name the regions that they were fighting over when he went on Tucker Carlson and talked to him. Also, the fact that he went on to him.
With a trip. So we tried to diffuse some of the more complex issues before they came to Sharm el-Sheikh in order to give us a higher probability of success and a more efficient negotiation when we got there.
Did you have the authority to make the deal, to make these compromises? What kind of authority did you get? Let me ask it that way.
To not make a bad deal.
but Hamas was.
Does that describe President Trump's
I would say,
mandate? Don't make a bad deal.
Don't make a bad deal.
But Hamas was going to be there. And I know that you spoke directly. So did you have to get authority to do that, or was?
Yes. We both described it to the president as this. If we would have an opportunity to meet Hamas, and if in our...
I don't know if Witkoff got hacked in Russia, but my understanding was that he did bring, like, his phone with him, and that he was, Oh, it's possible that he did get hacked in Russia, but we don't know. Yeah, he took secure devices with him, which was not good. Yeah, because, like, all of these people are deeply unqualified idiots.
View, that opportunity could lead to a deal. Were you comfortable with allowing us to go meet with Hamas? That was the question that we asked him and the entire foreign policy staff. And the answer came back, if you feel that you can get to a deal, of course. Why wouldn't I encourage, I being President Trump, why wouldn't I encourage you to get into that room and get it finished?
Steve, was there an understanding before this meeting that U.S. diplomats don't speak to organizations like Hamas?
I said to the president, are you comfortable with this? And he looked at me quizzically and saying, how would I not be comfortable? Who wouldn't take that meeting if that was going to lead to a deal?
But I'm asking if the diplomats would not have done it.
I can answer that. In President Trump's first term, when I was working on this file, I raised the idea of potentially meeting with Hamas to have conversations, and it basically was shut down and ridiculed by everyone I brought it up with.
The diplomats were not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say this. First of all, I think the president was very, very comfortable with it, but I can...
One of the issues I still find grating is neither of them know how to get a suit properly fitted. None of them know. Yeah, I mean... If I buy you BF6, will you play with me? Yeah, sure, why not? Although I can't stream it, which is unfortunate. And I'll have to play it on my laptop because it has stupid anti-cheat. Trump himself does a good job at suits. Yes, he does, with his ridiculously long ties and his suits, which are very obviously tailored to hide the fact that he is a fat fuck.
I remember thinking to myself, this is as courageous a decision as I've witnessed. It was, those lives are more important. Bringing certainty and closure for these families is important. Stopping the killing is important. And
I mean, COD does have an anti-cheat. Yes, COD does not have that root anti-cheat. It's not the only reason. I like the COD gameplay more, I think. But But I also didn't really play Battlefield 6 as much SDA, so I didn't really get a chance to, like I played Battlefield 5, but no, that's not but like that's legitimately not the only reason. I don't know. Because when I first started playing COD, there weren't really, the only game that I was maybe quasi interested in but couldn't play because the anti-cheat was Valorant, and I just said, okay, whatever. But then there were other games that I couldn't play because of the anti-cheat, and that got annoying, and yeah. Although, I mean, actually, wait, I can play Battlefield 6. I can play it on my laptop, and I can just use the Steam, the Steam Remote Play thing, which I love. It's really, really good. And then that allows me to continue to use the computer. And I could also probably stream that as well.
Need to do that, then, go do it.
Yeah.
And it felt courageous.
I'm just trying to...
I only play Gooner games like Valorant and Overwatch. Oh my god, stop. I've never actually played Valorant. And I was like, I'm not going to bother because I don't want to install this. I don't want Vanguard anti-cheat.
Set the stage for this meeting on October 8th, that it was an unusual thing, that your deal makers,
But yes, if you bought BF6, then yes, I would play with you. I would have to install it. Unless is it on the Xbox Live Pass? Because if it is, then that's something. But
different.
Let me give you sort of the crux of...
Or Xbox Game Pass, rather, because I have that right now. Will be this afternoon. I was in top 300 for Modern Warfare 2 back in the older days. Ooh, nice. Bill Clockwell, is Valorant also a Sooner game? Never came. Oh, a Gooner game, though I don't use Reddit anymore. I mean, I don't know, probably. It probably is like one of those Gooner games or whatever, but yeah. I mean, I don't care about that, really. Like, because that's mostly because if I'm being honest with you, I find like a lot of that to be kind of like gross, but that's just because that I'm like a woman or whatever, and I don't necessarily find that kind of porn appealing, where like people put like giant tits on all the characters and stuff. You were top 1K in COD 4 SDA? Nice. I swear, which one was COD 4 again? Was it just Call of Duty 4? I can't remember. I mean, I was never like I didn't. I think I played Call of Duty World at War on my PlayStation 3. I absolutely have no interest in Genshin Impact or any of that other stuff. Oh, COD 4 was Modern Warfare 1. Yeah, yeah, I enjoyed World at War. Was also the first time that the zombies thing was like when that was around, and I played that on the PlayStation 3 quite a bit. And yeah, I think I have the first Modern Warfare game on my PS3 as well, because I was playing it a long time ago. But, like, I did not start playing computer games again, like, since I was a kid, until I built this current computer that I have and, like, set up the whole virtual machine thing. That was when I started doing that.
What's at the bottom of why meeting them was so important. There's so much mistrust between Hamas and the Israelis. Doha accentuated that, and the president said, we will stand behind this deal. We will not allow the terms
I mean, of course there's going to be mistrust between them, obviously.
of this deal for any party to be violated.
And both sides will be treated fairly.
And both sides will be treated fairly.
So you get to the meeting in Egypt, and you're in a meeting with the chief Hamas negotiator, right? And you're meeting him for the first time. This is just a month after the attack in Doha.
So we got into the room. The lead negotiator was sitting right next to me.
That negotiator was in Doha when the Israelis struck.
Correct.
He survived, but his son was killed. Is
Right.
that right?
That's right. And we expressed our condolences to him for the loss of his son. He mentioned it. And I told him that I had lost a son, and that we were both members of a really bad club, parents who had buried children. And, Jared describes it maybe a little bit better than me.
Because you were watching.
Yeah, what I saw at that moment was very interesting. We go into a room, and you have the Qataris, the Turks, and the Egyptians, and then we meet the 4 representatives of Hamas, which is a terrorist organization. And I'm looking at these guys and I'm thinking these are hardened guys who have been through 2 years of war. They've obviously, they greenlit an assault that raped and murdered and did some of the most barbaric things. They've been holding hostages while while Gaza's been bombed, and they've withstood all the suffering.
Wait, hold on. Did they? Are these the same people that you're talking about here, Jared? Or were these the people who were holed up in Qatar and living large? Because not quite the same.
But when Steve and him spoke about their sons, it turned from a negotiation with a terrorist group to seeing two human beings kind of showing a vulnerability with each other.
Is it true that once the deal was agreed to, that the Israelis there at that meeting and the Qataris began to hug each other?
Absolutely. And I thought to myself, I wish the world could have seen it. I wish people could see people from Qatar hugging people from Israel. And by the way, it happened with the Turks too. And it happened with the Egyptians, which sort of, I don't know, makes you feel a whole lot better about what the possibilities are for the world.
So how did you get to an agreement with them?
The basic framework of the deal was that the 48 hostages would be returned in exchange for a ratio of Palestinian.
All right, stop gooning in the chat, you guys. Stop gooning.
Prisoners that the Israeli government had agreed to.
48 meaning
Goon on your own time.
20 alive.
20 alive and 28 deceased. And one of the big sticking points from Israel's point of view was they didn't want to do a full withdrawal and allow Hamas to regenerate in the Strip. And
What is this, a waiting room for the Arab streamer? Does this mean Loner made it? I mean, yes. What do you mean made it? Oh, you mean that he made it through that excruciating Drew Pavlov debate? Yes, it does. He did make it. Loner is a white Scottish Lebanese person. Who does not speak Arabic, much to Seb's annoyance. I'm sure that Seb wishes that Loner did speak Arabic. Especially since Loner lived in Dubai for a bit and he never learned Arabic during the whole time that he was there.
then become a future threat. And what if they didn't fulfill their obligation? What if they didn't return the hostages? So what we got Israel to do is to withdraw to a yellow line that we worked with them on. So
yeah, he did. He lived in Dubai when he was younger. For I don't know for how long. I think it was like a year or something.
It was a middle ground repositioning. And then over time, they agreed that if there was a stabilization force in place from the international community and they saw a real pathway towards disarmament of Hamas and the destruction of all the military capability, they would further withdraw with the goal of ultimately Gaza being peaceful and Israel no longer needing a presence. So there was a lot of conditionality built into the deal and a lot of elements that would be trust. Hamas's worst nightmare in this deal would be that Israel withdrew to the agreed upon.
He's not even British. He's not even Scottish. He's Aberdeener. I mean, Sev is probably more annoyed that Loner doesn't play Baldur's Gate 3, I'm sure, but who knows? Oh, he probably is. Oh, Aberdonian, nice. He probably is annoyed by that. It means Aberdeen, STA. That's Loner's hometown in Scotland. Imagine living in Dubai as Loner. Oh my God. This is not the Burj Khalifa. This is a terror Khalifa. A tower of terror. Nice. Oh, you're annoyed by the interview, Insomniac? Or the interviewer? Would you like to, if you want, you can come in and explain why. I'm always down to spice this up. Trying to stop me from gooning is like trying to get a $5 from an Aberdeen. Listen, SDA, that's fine. Just don't do it here. Or maybe, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out what I want my community to be. But I don't want it to be a place where women feel weird because there's a bunch of men talking about like porn and gooning and shit. Anyway.
Hamas released all the hostages. And then once that occurred, Israel just resumed the war and went back to going after them. So
I mean, that is what happened. I mean, the resume the war thing hasn't happened yet, but it is interesting that, like, I was surprised that Hamas came out and released all the hostages. Because I thought that was one of their bargaining chips, but they might have done it on purpose as well, too, because they might have known, Israel's now probably going to attack us again. Cold shower for this guy.
What they needed was a guarantee from President Trump that President Trump would hold Israel to their word as long as Hamas kept their word. And obviously, given the dynamics of the Middle East, given the relations between Israel and Hamas, there was zero trust anywhere to be found.
Now, here's something about you being business people, deal makers, that was different from the normal in negotiations, that you just accepted point one of this 20-point deal and said, okay, let's get done what we can get done and move on later. But it's like kicking the hard issues down the road. Can you tell me why you accepted just part one?
A lot of business is reading your opponent and hearing what he's willing to say now and what he's willing to do later. What we read.
So wait, you need a bunch of guitars? And hey, I'm not trying to be loner here. I have my own stuff that I want to do. It's just that I'm still doing a bunch of research in order to like properly like attain this level of content, and then I will probably but I still want to like cover the news and talk about stuff that I'm interested in. And I think that this is an interesting thing to talk about. I also care quite a bit about Ukraine, and there's history stuff that I want to learn about as well too. Like I've been learning about Yugoslavia and the breakup of Yugoslavia, which is super interesting. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of that, or like what content I can make that might be related to that, because like there is a lot of parallels between that and other things. And I also wanted to learn about it too, because of like the whole genocide thing. But I just wanted to learn about it as well, because like, I mean, that happened when I was a kid. I remember growing up. I think the Kosovo stuff more so was what really happened when I was a kid. But I mean, well, it all happened. It's just that a lot of it was stuff that I wouldn't have remembered because it was in the early 90s. Trying to be independent, Mike disapproves. Nah, yeah, well, hey, you know what? Of course he does, or of course he would. But I don't know how it is. Like, Mike just gets a whole boatload of viewers. When you get monetized, we need to ban SDS emote. Like, we need to ban SDS emote. Like loners ban sex emote. What? Ban SDS? Who is SDS? Or what is SDS? Oh, he's talking about you? But he's a mod. Mike should probably be worried about his platform going down the shitter with the recent drama at TwitchCon. I mean, I'm not convinced that that's going to matter, unless Amazon does something banning from cooning. I support a ban SDA. Actually, that would be funny.
In their response was that they wanted to get there, but they needed a way to save face, and they still had some work to do to figure out some of the finer points that we weren't going to be able to solve at that moment in time.
So let's go to the cabinet meeting in Israel, where Netanyahu's government is called upon to ratify.
Ooh, this should be interesting.
The agreement. And you are there, and you're sitting on one side, you're sitting on the other side. In Israel, they called you the babysitters.
Are you dual streaming or something? No, I'm not. I'm not dual streaming at all. I mean, I might, but if I was going to, I'd probably stream to Kick, not to Twitch. Because like Twitch has like really bad discoverability, and I'm not really going to get anything from streaming on Twitch. Like there doesn't really seem to be much point. I don't see the messages you read. You need to, at the top of the chat, SDA, there's like a drop down box. You'll see it says top chat and live chat. If you change it to live chat, you should see all the messages. Yeah. Mod by BTW. Listen, YouTube sucks, okay? I'm looking into a Taylor Amazon connection that might be spicy. What? Okay. Taylor Swift? I don't. Every time people say Taylor, that's all I can think of. Mike used to just do the waiting room strat, but now he's actively platformed by Hassan. They do stream together. Wait, do they actually? I've not, like, I know that Mike is in Hassan's chat and he often gets ignored. My understanding is that, like, Hassan barely talks about or acknowledges the existence of any of his orbiters. Oh, Taylor Lorenz. Oh, that's who you're talking about. Okay. Anyway, so they're the babysitters.
Babysitters, as if you were there to make sure that he stuck to the deal. At least that was the sort of message that came through.
Well, that's bad messaging, because that's not what happened. What happened was Jared and I were sitting in Prime Minister Netanyahu's office. We were going over everything that had.
Oh, if you guys install the Better Twitch TV or Better TTV extension, then you can actually set your YouTube chats to always go to live chat instead of having to change it every time. And you'll get extra emotes as well if you do it, because like there's a bunch of Twitch emotes and stuff in there. Yeah, have a good one, Guy. And then yeah, like you can set it up so that it'll always go to top chat.
Occur. He was telling us that the cabinet was waiting upstairs, and then it was a spur of the moment thing, and I give him huge credit for this.
He invited you to join.
He invited us to join.
And I understand that one of the more right-wing members of his cabinet, Ben Gvir, started to lecture you and yell at you. And...
A little bit. But I'll tell you this: when
What
he
was he
invited
saying?
us, when the Prime Minister invited us,
Yeah.
both Jared and I knew that he endorsed the deal. That we were there to help to sell it to the cabinet, to let that cabinet know that we were going to stand behind all aspects of the deal and not do.
Of course, Netanyahu wants the deal. It would have been the crazies who wouldn't have wanted it.
Anything that would endanger the security of the Israeli people.
But they did ratify, but after this man gave you two a talking to, yeah.
Want me to tell the story?
It's politics.
Okay. So Jared and I are both there, and we got a really good reception from the cabinet. I think, irrespective of where any of them individually stood politically, I think they were grateful that two Americans, on behalf of President Trump, were there to help get this thing to be done, and they were grateful for it, and they expressed that to us. But there was a moment with Mr. Gvir.
Mr. Gvir? Rah. You know that his last name is not Ben Gvir, or is not Gvir, right? Like, it's like a hyphenated name. It's like Ben dash Gvir. Like his whole name, like his whole last name is Ben Gvir. His first name is Itamar. How, like, it's actually kind of hilarious that you don't know that. But okay. Short Stack Goblin says it is a sad state of affairs, but Kushner might be the most competent person in the second Trump admin. That is entirely possible. Well, okay, actually that's not fair. I think Rubio is competent too. It's just the problem is that Rubio sold out super hard, so how competent he is doesn't necessarily matter anymore because he basically has no sway over anything because he's basically just going to bend over every time Trump wants something and he's just going to say, "Thank you, sir. May I have another?" Like, yeah, he just yes, Rubio is in the cuck chair. Like, it doesn't matter what he does. Or like what he wants, he's not going to get it. I very much disagree. The most confident person is someone none of you know about because he doesn't appear in any media. Oh, are you talking about do you like know the name of this person or are you talking about that one guy that you met that you said was serving in what is he serving in like the Department of like Agriculture or something? Or are you talking about someone potentially behind the scenes who's giving Trump suggestions? Yeah, go ahead. You can hop in. Oh my God, the sounds. Oh, hello. Hello, sir. Hello.
Hello. Am Israel High?
Am Israel High? I don't know how to actually say that. But
Oh, either. I don't.
maybe Insomniac will come and tell us how to say it sometime. But anyway, or Funky.
No, there's like very few
Competent.
Yeah, I just wanted to be I'm still kind of waking up. There's very few actually competent people. There's very few even actually interesting people, but the guy I just linked you in your DMs is his name's Eldridge Colby, and he is the What is this actual fucking?
Undersecretary of Defense for Policy.
I think it was currently, yeah.
Oh, so he's serving in the DOD?
So he's served in the first and second Trump administration, but he is, I don't know how actually well respected he is broadly, but I've followed his career for like a decade, and while I don't like that he's in the Trump administration, I guess, he's probably a better influence than not overall, except when it comes to our
Ukraine?
involvement in Ukraine and the Middle East. So Colby is a very staunch China hawk and Pacific concerned, not concerned troll, but his primary concern is with the Pacific theater and building up forces and enabling Pacific allies. He does kind of like very, very remotely support us, assisting Ukraine primarily with like intelligence and other non non-hardened assets. He doesn't mind probably like sending some level of munitions, but he definitely doesn't want to be sending like Tomahawks, HIMARS,
Yeah.
anything. So the biggest fucking problem right now is magazine depth. There's just no godly amount of magazine depth in terms of like number of fires we have in store to be deployed that can solve any of our problems. And for decades, Indo-PACOM, which is Pacific and Middle East, North Africa, basically all of that region, just constantly just blows through fucking everything. Just gazillions of dollars worth of interceptors and strike packages and all this shit, and they just lose their fucking mind. I'm like Indo-PACOM command and their supply points lost their fucking mind over the Houthi shit and us blowing so much money on interceptors and strike packages for the Houthis.
Damn. Yeah, okay. I see he's a realist, it says there in the wiki, so yeah, that's probably...
It may be. That's kind of... I don't know that much about him, but I've read a couple of his papers, and the biggest thing that I know he wrote about, and I'm pretty sure had a policy organization on... Center for New, he worked on defense issues, Marathon Initiative... Yeah, so I think the Marathon Initiative in particular was focused on nuclear CNC, and Eldridge Colby paper.
I thought that, wait, you said you don't know that much about him, but you...
I don't know about him, like how he's received in the field, because nobody talks
I see.
about people that don't go on Fox News every week and jerk themselves off. I've never seen him speak in anything other than a formal setting.
Okay, I mean, this also doesn't have a citation about the realist identification thing, which is weird.
Yeah, I would believe it, I guess, but I'm always very careful with labels. I get not careful, but suspicious, right? Labels. Like, if you say I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat, that doesn't tell me very much other than who you vote for, right? It's a broad generalization of things to make things easier, but as you quiz somebody on their positions, it's going to be different. But I've read a couple of his papers. He's written a couple like posture reviews as well. But a lot of his stuff was focused on nuclear command and control. And one of the paper that I really liked by him, limited nuclear exchange. I think it's this one. Is it? Who's this written by? John K. Warden? No. It got what do you call it? It got sucked into the ecosystem of publishing shit. Like, you can't access it without buying it. I'll have to go dig it up again.
Oh, I mean, Sci-Hub's your friend.
Yeah, but I can't even. It was something like the need for limited nuclear options. But basically, he's like, the world is increasingly becoming more contentious, and there's a growing need for limited nuclear options, like small yield nuclear warheads, those kind of things. A lot of people don't understand the United States. Like, everybody like knows what MAD is, right? Mutually assured
Yep.
destruction, but that's never been the actual position of United States CENTCOM. Like it was the public like propaganda, and it's part of game theory, right? Of like how do you resolve the potential conflict of deploying nuclear weapons, and then now over the decades, it's actually the actual formal position of the United States is called nuts.
These nuts? Are you approaching it? No, I'm kidding. What's it stand for?
Yes, everybody fucking does that. Utilization target. It's called nuclear utilization target selection. Jesus fucking Christ, or nuts.
Nuclear utilization target selection. Oh, Short Stack Goblin says, to be clear, it is the current U.S. nuclear doctrine. What is nuts?
It's nuts. Nuts is the current nuclear doctrine. I just linked it to you. No, to be clear, MAD has never been the actual doctrine. It has been the public, like what we say, and the gear of development, right, is like how we actually spurred all of the investment into our nuclear command and control, and got like the biggest fulcrum of our nuclear forces. You know which one it is?
Wait, the biggest fulcrum of our nuclear forces?
Like the most critical nuclear forces we maintain.
No, I don't really know much of anything about the like what, the ICBM? I don't know exactly. Are you talking about like the weapon?
Well, no, it'd actually be SRBMs, I think, but it's Tridents. It's the boomers.
Oh, okay. That sounds familiar. It's something I've probably heard of, randomly in pop culture.
It's the submarines, nuclear submarines.
The nuke subs. Yeah, okay. Yeah,
because they can basically disappear under the water, go anywhere, pop up, fire some tridents, and disappear.
Yes. Listen, I've seen The Hunt for Red October, and that is the extent of my. By the way, that's a great movie. I don't know if you've seen it or not.
It's a great book. I'll tell you. The movie I've never seen, but the book is perfect.
It's a good movie. I'm sure the book is also really good.
I went through a phase where I read like a dozen Tom Clancy novels. So yeah, the point of nuts is basically it doesn't rule out what we call a limited nuclear exchange. And it actually evaluates the possibility. Actually, not just like a possibility, but there's many scenarios. The United States plans for everything, right? Like we plan for a land invasion of Japan, but I can prove to you that it was never seriously on the table. It was never going to happen. Like the two main options were A, drop the bombs, or B, turn them into North Korea. Just embargo them, blockade them, maybe do some humanitarian shit to try and keep the civilians alive. But there was never going.
Which I believe that you were against nuking Japan, or you don't think that it was necessary?
No. My position is people are guided or misunderstand.
Hold on 1 sec before we continue. Are you on your PC right now or your laptop?
Yeah. Is my mic all fucky?
Yes. Are you using your microphone?
Yeah, I'm using the Yeti. I don't know why it's so bad.
You have a Yeti?
I have a Yeti Micro. So hold on. Is it like cutting out? Is it
No, it's not cutting
gaining?
out. You just sound very blown out.
Oh, okay. Then that means, how about now?
Yeah, hold on one sec. Keep talking.
Hello.
Let me turn you up.
How
Keep
about now?
talking.
Hello.
Say something else besides that. Like, carry on with what you were saying.
Okay. So my contention with the discussion around the deployment of nuclear weapons on Japan
Hold
is that
on. Wait. Bill says tap the Yeti to confirm it's being used. You don't have any other microphone. Like, he's using a desktop, Bill. You don't have any other
I don't.
microphones. Like, you don't have like a webcam or something.
Let me hold on one sec. Let me go to microphone settings because Windows like used to always default to putting your microphone at like 70%, and I think I went and turned it up.
Oh, you're not quiet.
No, I know, but I don't know how it actually works when you do that. So hold on one sec.
Okay, yeah, you went back to sounding like blown out anyway. But I mean, I don't know. You'll have to listen. Like, you can go on the stream and like go back and listen in order to see like what you sound like. Because I don't know all the audio terms. I'm not an audio engineer.
That's fine. Kalinda, can you hear me better now? Is this not as blown out?
Hold on. You're really quiet, but one sec. Okay, talk
Is this
again.
better?
Keep talking.
Is this way better? Like, is this still blown out or?
Yes, it's way, way better. I had to turn you up to 200%, but the quality is way better.
Well, how about now?
That's way better too. Yes.
Okay.
You're still at 200, but I can turn you down slightly now. Okay, keep going.
Just the problem is that it's compounding audio drivers, so I had to. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay,
So
cool.
my contention with the deployment of nuclear weapons on Japan is what I just mentioned: is people are misled or misunderstand or don't know the primary thought in their mind when they think of like why we did it is because it would have cost millions of lives to do a land invasion of Japan, and so that's why we dropped it. That's just factually incorrect. We were never going to do a land invasion I mean, if we did, it wouldn't be for a long time. We would basically just surround Japan and blockade them and then maybe do some strategic strikes and bombardments and shit. But anyway,
Yeah. Okay.
no, my justification for the deployment of nuclear weapons on Japan is number one, we built the fucker and we're gonna use it. Like we were the first to build it, first to like test it. We're gonna be the first to use it. Number two was to scare the ever-living shit out of the Soviets, because within moments after the deployment of, which was first, Hiroshima?
I think so.
Within like moments after the deployment of Hiroshima, the Soviet Union broke their non-aggression pact with Japan and moved forces to attack in Manchuria. And then three was, this is a more complex flavor of analysis, but was the absolute total destruction of the old world notion of British sovereignty, or like the British notion of sovereignty, where the British Empire would respect other countries' sovereignties as long as they could maintain it. You know, as long as they could like defend themselves, or were as long as the country that they were respecting could cost more to take them over than it would to just trade with them, the British would respect your sovereignty. You know, you might get into a war or stuff, but they wouldn't try and like take over your.
I thought, did you change your mind about this? Because I could have swore that your position was that like the U.S. didn't really need to drop the bombs.
Oh no, they didn't. But it wasn't the. Wait, I'm trying. I would say it wasn't the most. Like, I don't like morals or whatever. I'm not a moral frog, so I don't try and analyze it this way. I would say it was less moral from whatever perspective you might want to pick. That isn't mine, but it was more humane.
Oh, okay, because otherwise, like, they must have known that, I feel like that it must have been
Who
part of
they?
the calculus. No, America. It must have been part of the calculus as part of the reason why, like, they immediately decided there was no, that, like, actually doing a ground invasion of Japan would have been incredibly costly in terms of, like, American and
Yeah,
Japanese lives. That must have
there
been.
was a full analysis. It would have costed. Well, no, they didn't really care how many Japanese would have died.
Okay,
But
well, how many Americans would have died? It would have been a
million.
lot, yeah.
Yeah, like hundreds of thousands, close to 1 million Americans would have died invading mainland Japan, and probably would have reduced Japan's population by at least 30 to 40%. So the calculus was we either A, do that, lose a bunch of our boys when everybody's already pretty tired of the damn war, and just we already won this war. We won the war back at Leyte Gulf, and the other one I can't remember, but essentially by Leyte Gulf the war was over.
Iwo Jima?
No,
Or
Iwo Jima.
Midway? Oh, it
Mm-mm.
was Iwo Jima. I don't
Midway
know.
was Midway was the turning point, was the
Okay.
pivotal destruction of the last Japanese carriers and shit.
Listen,
But
I don't know fuck all about the Pacific War. But yeah.
Leyte Gulf was the like actual like, okay, this war is fucking over. These guys have nothing left. But even before the United States entered into war with Japan, or declared war on Japan after Pearl Harbor, Japan was already rationing, like not like how the United States did rationing, where we're like, oh, support the war effort, don't use butter, don't use whatever. Japan before World War II, like going into, like before we entered the Pacific War, was already like heavily rationing foods to their civilian population.
That's it. Oh, they were bogged down in China as well, weren't they? Like, and they had been since I think like 1934 or something.
I'd have to go back and remember, but yes, Manchuria was the Achilles heel. Was like the we sunk too many fucking resources and personnel and time into Manchuria because that's where we got all of the extra stuff to do everything else. And now everywhere, everything, as well as the Bushido Code fucked them over because nobody wanted to actually run supply missions or escort missions or do anything related to logistics, the most critical part of any war.
Yeah, and I mean,
no,
like, at that point, they'd also taken over, I think, Korea and Vietnam, and so, like, they were running this whole big, like, they'd taken over a bunch of places, and they were trying to take over China, and so that probably was, like, when you're talking about, like, no one wanted to, yeah, I imagine that it probably didn't
like, in
work,
my
yeah.
opinion, the Imperial Empire of Japan, while I don't actually have to go look at the numbers. I'm pretty sure like the number of people they killed was less.
Less than what? Nazi Germany?
Yes.
Well, I mean, yeah, that wouldn't surprise me because I don't.
But
yeah,
I would say Imperial Japan was a far more sadistic, evil organization of governance and ideology than the Nazis were.
Ooh, actually, I mean that might be true because of the way that they, like, I guess, operated and stuff, and they
Like,
had
not just to other people, but to their own people. Like, at least the Nazis were like, we fucking love Germans, and we don't want Germans to kill themselves if they feel dishonored. And
yeah, they had with the
but
seppuku
like
thing.
in Japan, they were not even just seppuku, but like fucking kamikaze.
Oh yeah,
or like
yeah,
welding people into torpedoes to drive into American ships.
and they were kids too, like not like literal children, but like they were young, weren't they? Yeah.
Everybody does that. United States had quite a few 15, 16-year-old Marines.
Oh yeah, I know, but there's a big difference, I guess, between that and the kamikazes who were literally
One, because they it wasn't like we were desperate for soldiers, and two, they weren't forced into it. They weren't pressed into it by their society. It was fucking teenagers who were like, I want to go off to war, and so they snuck into the Marine Corps.
Yeah,
and lied
like
about
this
all
was
that.
like a thing. I think I read a little bit about this a long time ago because Loner mentioned something about it on his stream. And I mean, I feel like it's very sad when you think about it too, like who were some of these people and like why did they do it and the extent to which that they were like valorized within this society. And yeah.
By and large, kamikazes were all volunteers.
Oh, yeah. But like there was a pressure to do it, I assume, right? Like
Yeah, it was all social pressure and ideological pressure and that kind of stuff. But like almost basically every single one that were kamikaze pilots were entirely volunteer. Like they did it willingly. Like they were like, "Yep, put me in the." They didn't have to weld the aircraft shut like people say they did and shit
hmm.
like that. Um, they if they didn't want to do it, well, they're in a fucking plane, just bail out over the American ships and surrender, right? But no, these people wanted to do what they were doing.
Yeah. Which I mean is kind
So
of crazy, but anyway, go
number
on.
one, just to close this out, number one was either do the stupid thing and do a ground invasion. Number two, do the what I consider insanely inhumane thing and blockade them and starve them out. The discussions we had about like, oh, what would happen if we got rid of all social services and,
Yes.
welfare and shit? It's like, well, hungry people eat their kings, and it would not take long for a country that was already rationing before the war and by and large was in the middle stages of starvation by 1943 to eat their kings. Uh, and then the third option is vaporize 150,000 people and end the war tomorrow. And I think vaporizing 150,000 people is bad, especially that I think like 20 to 30,000 of those were like Korean and Taiwanese slaves
Oh,
and like
yeah.
women and shit who were there. But like, a pound of flesh for an ounce of peace,
Oh,
I guess.
yeah, okay, I see. That makes considerably more sense. So like they didn't need to do it, but it was the least bad option. It sounds like basically what you're saying, or they
Yeah,
could have
I mean, because conventional bombing would have killed far more. Fire bombing, right? More
yeah,
people died in Operation Meeting House,
when they were
which is
was that the firebombing of
Tokyo.
Tokyo? Yeah.
Yeah, Operation Meeting House killed like 200,000 people and destroyed 10 million man hours of labor.
Yeah, like the firebombing of Dresden was also one that people like to
So
bring. Yeah, like yeah,
I think there were better options, but they weren't. I'm not a fucking Supreme Allied commander. If I had the decision, I would deploy the first weapon off the coast of Tokyo or within visual range of Tokyo, like just in the water, and then send a communique that we have a dozen more and are willing to completely decimate your entire country.
Oh
And then
yeah.
if they still refuse, drop another one on Hiroshima and Nagasaki or whatever.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, because and also then it also gives the US an opportunity to flex, so the Soviets can like shit their pants at the this crazy new weapon that the Americans have if they did drop one off like the coast or what have you. Yeah.
Well, the Soviets were aware of the weapon. FDR had told this FDR or Truman, I can't remember.
It would have been. It must have
Soviets,
been. I
it
think
was
it would have
FDR.
been. Oh, it was FDR. Okay.
Yeah, because it was at the what was that meeting that they did? The super secret meeting between
Yalta. Was it Yalta? Was it at Yalta where they divided? Where like Stalin or where like FDR basically
no,
said, "Fuck it, you can take half of Europe to Stalin, or you can have Eastern Europe." Or was it?
what was the meeting where FDR told Stalin about the atomic bomb?
Oh, actually, wait. I don't know.
Potsdam. It was
Oh,
Potsdam.
Potsdam.
No,
Okay.
but it was Truman.
Oh yeah, it was Truman. That makes more sense because I think FDR, when did he die? In like, was it 45? 44?
But Stalin already knew about the bomb. He just didn't really believe in its destructive capability.
Yeah.
Because humans don't do well with exponents and exponential growth. And if you watched I wouldn't say it was dog shit, but it could have been better. If you watched Oppenheimer, his whole quote about a pillar of fire 1,000 feet in the air. Like once you see it, right, you're like,
Yeah.
holy.
Yeah, I know.
So
Absolutely.
yeah,
It's
that would
obviously,
be
yeah.
like the more moral option if you really care about that, but it's not worth the risk of like using such a valuable, costly, expensive, complex weapon just for like a demonstration of force rather than actual force. Can you Google something real quick?
Sure.
Curtis LeMay.
Oh, hey, Dylan talks about this guy.
Overwhelming force. Curtis LeMay was incredibly based. Fuck anybody who says any
Oh my
different.
God. I feel like we might in some ways disagree there, but yeah, wasn't Curtis LeMay like he was kind of a crazy dude?
No, he was perfectly rational.
Oh, not a crazy dude. I think.
It was MacArthur who was crazy. And just go to images.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, because you just want to see the quote. If you're going to use military force, then you ought to use overwhelming military force. Use too much and deliberately use too much, you'll save lives. Not only your own, but the enemy's too. Damn, yeah. Well, yeah, I know. This guy was like a mega hawk, is my understanding, right?
He was the guy. Do you know Bomber Harris?
I've heard that name.
He was the British bombardier leader general guy of the UK, and Bomber Harris was a fucking pussy. I'll tell you that much. Just get rid of overwhelming force and type in what is it? Let me see. Curtis LeMay, civilians quote. Oh yeah, just type in Curtis LeMay. Here, I'll just link it to you. Oh my God.
I mean, I have to read more about him. Actually, I don't know if I think Dylan has like an interest in this guy. I don't know if like he actually thinks that he's as, yeah, but he's like, this guy was like a character or something, like he talked about.
He was a
like,
character for sure. And he was the quote unquote inspiration for the Air Force general in Dr. Strangelove.
Oh,
but LeMay was I gotta be honest, LeMay was insanely rational compared to like MacArthur in his later years, because MacArthur went so far as to say we should drop 100 cobalt bombs on the border between China and North Korea.
Yeah. Well, Bill says in chat, MacArthur is the one that wanted to use tactical nukes in Korea. Is that like, didn't MacArthur get fired by Truman because he went way too far?
Well, he got fired by Truman for a lot of things, but one of the reasons was he suggested dropping cobalt bombs on the border between China and Korea and just making it an irradiated dead zone so nobody could cross.
Oh my God.
But this quote is about Dresden, and I'll defend Dresden and all the Allied bombing of Germany to the end. It's even covered in the war tribunals after the war and how they explained it. But he said the German people themselves were historically responsible for the Nazi hierarchy and the Nazi war machine. No little band of handpicked zealots alone could have wrought such a fantastic massacre. It had to be done with people. It was done with and by the German people. We can look back and salute a comparative handful of clear-minded and courageous Teutonic humans who were tortured out of existence by the Schutzstaffel, or who decayed in concentration camps.
Schutzstaffel?
But they were
Schutzstaffel. Yeah, it should be the Schutzstaffel. I can't. God damn it! Their S's are kind of Z-ish. Anyway, go ahead.
It's been a decade since I spoke German, so. But they were a distinct minority. The bulk of the German population was behind Hitler, or pretended to be. The bulk of the population applauded him, sustained him, or, in the less evil instances, stood idly by or turned their backs on the whole thing. And this is the bolded part. There are no innocent civilians. It is their government, and you are fighting a people. You are not trying to fight an armed force anymore, so it doesn't bother me so much to be killing the so-called innocent bystanders.
Oh man, that is
This is actually pretty important in like Zizek's philosophy about like how weak and fake it is to say we're not enemies with China, or we are not enemies with Iran, or we are not enemies with Russia. We're enemies with the Russian government or the Chinese government no, we are fighting these people. It
hold
doesn't
on,
matter.
hold on a sec. There is one thing that I will poke a hole in there. Iran, like the Iranian regime, is broadly unpopular in Iran. So, like, I feel like it's not.
Doesn't
That's
matter.
well, I mean, I think that, like, in some ways, does it not matter in that case to separate the people from the government? Because if you were to do anything there in order to get rid of that government, you would want to win the goodwill of the people, and you're not going to get it if you say none of them are innocent, right?
Well, I care about hearts and minds, as long as they're, hearts and minds, the two best places to shoot somebody.
Oh my God. I'm just saying,
The
yeah,
only
I think.
way I would change my mind about Iran is if there was a significant rebel insurgency fighting against the actual regime, rather than everybody going around about their business and just like, oh, whatever, we'll just live under them because it's too hard, or we don't.
I mean,
we
it's
don't.
they've tried. Like there's been tons of protests. Like tons of people have been out in the street. I
I think
don't.
we're past protest point. Like I'm talking about, like
Yeah,
there
I
should
know
be
you want
enough
them to do a revolution,
I
but
don't want them to do anything. I'm just saying the only way I can separate a people from its government is if those people are not just like protesting, but like committing political assassinations and terrorist bombings and shit to try and overthrow these fuckers.
I understand what you're
I'm not saying
saying,
they
but
should. I would definitely, I wouldn't expect anybody to ever risk their life like that and do such horrible things. But, everybody's paying taxes. Everybody's slurping up that oil money. Everybody,
I mean, not. It's funny that you say that. I mean, yeah, kind of, but not really. Like like Iran, their economy is doing terribly considering all the oil wealth they have, and their people actually don't get much of that wealth because Iran's too busy spending it on the axis of resistance, quote unquote.
Sure, but they still get enough money to maintain the regime and build massive underground nuclear complexes.
Yeah, I mean that's true. Although I don't know, like you've hit on a very interesting.
China keeps buying their fucking oil.
Yes, yeah. You've hit on a very interesting sort of moral quandary there, and this came up a whole bunch when we were doing like in the historiography of Nazi Germany, there is like a debate regarding resistance and the extent, and also a debate regarding the complicity of the German people. And like I feel like you have to be careful because you don't want to go like too far with this to the extent to so much so that you like paint the entirety of, or you like make insane generalizations about how all the German people were evil or whatever. Although you didn't really do that.
Evil. Yeah, even in that quote, LeMay
he doesn't. Yeah, no, yeah, he doesn't say that. Because
you have to separate the Star Wars fantasy civilization that we live in. Like it's a fantasy, but we live in it, right? We live in the fantasy of good and evil, of like supreme good and evil.
Yes.
But there are, as you agree, there are lesser evils and there are
exactly.
more goods.
Yeah.
One of those lesser evils that probably contributes the most to these kind of atrocities is bystanders.
Yeah, and
the
apathy. Yeah, because when I was looking into this, like the impression that I generally came away with was largely that the German people were pretty apathetic about all of this, about the whole thing. Because it's not like they didn't know
what do you
about
mean,
it.
The whole thing?
I mean, like about the Holocaust, about the things the Nazis were doing, and it's not like it was super top secret or that they couldn't have found out or
I
that
would
they
say
didn't
the
know.
majority were apathetic or just influenced enough by racial ideology to be like, well, it's whatever.
Oh, yeah. Oh, LonerBox is live now. I'm
Anyway,
surprised that,
the thing
yeah.
about Colby, the thing he wrote was about limit. So nuts is the actual and for a long time policy of the United States, and it's about evaluating the most critical targets, and it does not rule out a first strike scenario, right, where we decide, which the United States maintains, we are a first strike nation. We reserve the right to deploy nuclear weapons first as an attack. We're the only
Yes.
country that's ever done it. Anyway.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
and then number two, it doesn't rule out the potential for what's called a limited nuclear exchange, where two countries exchange a lesser number of warheads that results in significant damage before pausing the exchange and coming to negotiations or moving to conventional war.
Yeah. Oh,
And then
no,
three,
he's not demonizing. Yeah, there's no demonization going on here, Chase. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. Anyway, go on.
The critical evaluation is that in many scenarios, a precision and clearly communicated and limited deployment of a nuclear strike is less escalatory. I know it sounds weird, but it's actually less escalatory than many of the options for what would be a conventional military strike.
So this is what Colby, like what he
He's one of the many people that
okay, yeah.
write about it, but he's just a person I've followed, I've read, I've seen him speak. I've never met him. I don't know if that's what you were. I don't know who you were talking about earlier. The person you may be talking about is Clarence Thomas. I met Clarence Thomas.
No, it wasn't just him. I think there was someone else that you said that you met who works in the Trump administration now, but your impression of them was not
Brooke
good.
Rawlings. Brooke
Yes.
Rawlings. She's the Secretary of Agriculture. She used to be the CEO of the Texas Public Policy Foundation, which is a part of the State Policy Network, which is the largest conservative policy network in the United States. And then their Texas branch is the most well-funded and influential. And yeah, she was seen as a competent CEO around there, but she's just a fucking retard. I'm so sorry.
No, I mean, that's fair. I wouldn't be surprised if that was
like whatever competency she did have, she's flushing down the toilet by just grifting and lying. And she worked for a policy firm. She's a qualified person. She has the credentials. She has the experience, but she doesn't care. She just like Trump dick, Trump orange dick.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, it's not surprising that that's generally the case. Unfortunately,
I'm just gonna link you one thing, and then I'm gonna go.
Oh yeah, you can. You can link stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna end the stream now. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Well, I mean,
Well,
Loner.
hold on, before you do.
Yeah.
Did you already do it?
No, I didn't. I didn't do it.
On the Serbiencia. There was this fucking not the new face of protest.
Is it a short clip? Because yeah.
It's not a clip. It's just it's a reading that I just want to provide to anybody who's actually interested.
Enjoyed hearing from Holden Bloodfeast himself. Wait, what are you talking about, Lars?
It's a meme.
Oh.
You've never seen that meme?
Probably not.
I'll find it later. I'll just link you the Holden Bloodfeast. It's just a really old meme. Here, you can open it on stream.
Okay. Calm down, Stuart. You'll get fed when I'm done. Oh, Holden Bloodfeast, R. Iowa. 118 years old. Please, God, just let us nuke Iran. Nothing else matters. I'll do anything, please. I just want to see burning flesh one last time before I die. Respectable bipartisan. Jillian Drentdy, California, founder of a startup that sends underprivileged youth to fight in the IDF. Oh my God. I can tell that a leftist made this meme.
Yeah, no, they didn't. The left is the Holden Bloodfeast used to be on its own, and then a leftist then was like, oh, both sides are the same.
Oh, okay. I see. Actually,
I've
I
never
can.
seen the right one.
Okay, yeah. Actually, that makes sense because of these two things definitely look like
Yeah,
they
you see
would.
that weird black
Yeah,
bar at the
the
bottom?
black bar. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was
Mhm.
definitely a thing. I knew he
It's
would
so
know.
sad.
Yeah. Hmm?
It's so sad to see Reddit completely taken out. Like, it's been happening like for a long time, but Reddit's just completely lost to radical, like pro Pally, like pro anti-American sentiment on
Yeah,
basically every facet.
yeah. The tankies took over Reddit. It's very sad.
Like, not just Reddit as a population, but all of the moderation and adminning as well. There used to be a subreddit that would track the number of front page deletions every day. And I think they just stopped doing it because every single day, all 50 organic posts that reach the front page, the front page has 50 slots on Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
All 50 of the posts that organically reach the front page were deleted every single day for over a year, either by mods or an admin.
Oh,
So
damn.
every single front page post on Reddit for over a year now, for probably several years, has basically been handpicked by the moderation team. And there's clear and ample evidence that there's a lot of backroom deals of like people getting paid to try and maneuver their post to the front page. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. That makes
Yeah,
sense. That's
Eldridge
insane.
Colby, based only person I know who is even remotely competent or interesting in the Trump administration, and the biggest reason is because he's not on Fox News.
Oh, yeah. Well, he also seems like sort of like an old school, like, Republican person too, like in the sense that like
I don't
he's,
even know his personal politics. I just know all he cares about is the facts.
well, yeah, but that's what I mean. It seems like he's an experienced sort of old guard person who has like worked in defense or whatever for
Mhm.
like a while, rather than like one of these like politician people
I don't know. I don't know if he's worked in defense, but he's a policy analyst wonk advisor.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like obviously you need more of those, and unfortunately, it seems like Trump is like keen or okay to get rid of them all. So yeah, but also, damn, Loner's been live, and I still have 12 people here. That's interesting. Although that like, or basically like my viewership has been maintained. So
They're just gooning. They're gooning in the background.
stop it. Oh yeah, and then of course he fucking left. This motherfucker. God damn. All right, guys. Yeah, I'm gonna go now. Although what I might do from now on is that yes, I don't think any of you are actually gooning. God damn. But SDA is like the only one who's allowed to say shit like that. But anyway, so yeah, what I might actually do, maybe this kind of gives me an idea, because the fact that you guys are all still here, I might start my stream maybe when Loner plays Hollow Knight or starts playing Hollow Knight, or depending on like I guess like what he's doing or whatever, or like towards the end of his stream, maybe if I want to stream in the evenings and do shorter streams, and then I want to see if maybe I can do longer streams on the weekend. But I have to get all my content sorted out and everything, and figure out like what exactly it is. Like I need to pick one thing to focus on, which has been annoying because damn, learning about Yugoslavia has been super, super interesting. And I need to like get back and lock in on the Holocaust stuff that I was learning about before, because I want to do a few segments about that. And then I can do a few other stuff about other things, and yeah. But okay. Anyway, yeah, you guys can go because I can't raid out. So yeah, go say hi to the box. What is happening? Yeah, go say hi to the box. And thanks for stopping by, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.